Virgin Islands, St. Croix, and all over the Caribbean, the mainland, and the world. This is your host, Mary Moorhead. I do apologize for the late start. We're trying to work through some tech situation to bring in our guest today. As I did point out and note that we are expecting to connect with Mr. Oakland Benter, just having a little difficulty with technology. But hey, the engineer, the manager will get it all straightened out soon. So in the meantime, we shall carry on. And folks, thanks for tuning in to WSTX 970 AM. Welcome. This is my second show for 2026. So I did my Happy New Year's already last week, but one last time because we're still in January. Happy New Year to all of you out there. I hope 2026 is going to be fantastic, definitely better than 2025. Health, wealth, strength, and everything of the best for all listening. Have some announcements to bring you up to date with. First, a very timely one. Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow is the 15th, and I must let you know. As a matter of fact, let me just read it. Okay. Board of Elections announces its special meeting. Yes, it's a special meeting. The Virgin Islands Board of Elections Chairman Raymond Williams announces that the Board of Elections will meet on Thursday, January 15, 2026 at 1 p.m. at the Public Service Commission Conference Room in Estate Carlton's Suites 1 and 2 in St. Croix, and the Public Service Commission Conference Room in Estate Ross, Barbell Plaza, Suite 4 in St. Thomas. The special meeting is called to discuss and receive feedback from board members on the status of operations of the Board of Elections. All interested media and the public may email the executive assistant at richard.wilson at boel.vi.gov to receive the Zoom link. And naturally, that is if you cannot make it in person to the Public Service Commission conference room in St. Croix or St. Thomas. Now, I would say that the discussion and feedback that he refers to as to the status of operations is because I did see an invitation where the Committee on Government Operations, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection, chaired by Senator Avery Lewis, did invite the Board of Election to discuss the status of operation of the board. So this meeting is a special meeting for the board members to come to a consensus as to what their presentation will be to the invitation from the Senate committee. Okay, again, that is tomorrow, the 15th, 1 o'clock at the PSC conference room. I am told also that the members are going to try to also include a discussion on Bill 360187, which will be in front of that same committee, Senate Committee on Government Operation next week, Friday the 23rd. So they want to have a consensus as to their position on the bill, and they are going to ask to have that discussion at the board meeting tomorrow. So, two very interesting topics that the Board of Elections will be dealing with tomorrow. So, folks, please don't miss it. 1 p.m. at the Public Service Commission. Now, I also want to point out, and I can't right now find that announcement, but do recall that the Waste Management Authority, yeah, the Waste Management Authority has announced that they're going to be having town meetings. Now, what happened was they pulled back the announcement because they're changing the date. Okay. Um, so I am trying to find the previous announcement to at least let you know what the what it was saying, because I haven't seen the new announcement yet, but I do know what the new dates are. So just give me a minute. I'm trying to find that, and it's not coming up. Okay, but I do know. Oh, okay, here I have it. Okay, the town hall meetings and the date, the change now is that they're going to have the St. Croix town meeting will be next Thursday, the 22nd, and the St. Thomas town meeting will be the following Thursday, the 29th. Okay, those are the dates. Now let me get back to the message. It says, join us for town hall meetings. The community is invited to participate in engaging discussions on key topics, including territory-wide construction of convenience centers, the transition to standardized trash carts, wastewater and solid waste fees, and illegal dumping, among others. Those are the topics. Let me repeat them again. Including territorial construction of convenience centers. Sorry, construction of convenience centers. The transition to standardized trash carts, the wastewater and solid waste fees, and illegal dumping. And these town hall, as I said, the St. Croix one is now going to be held next Thursday from 6 to 8 at the Alfredo Andrews School. Okay, and the St. Thomas one will be the following Thursday, which will be the 29th, from 6 to 8 at the Public Service Commission's office, right? Now, folks, those are important town hall meetings, and I do encourage all listening to attend. Now, I don't see it, so I don't believe it's available. And what I'm referring to is a virtual connection. I don't see mention of that anywhere. But I do suggest that those of you who maybe prefer that virtual situation, I think it would be kind of difficult for a town hall. So let me just say that probably that situation, that access is not available. You want to be included in the discussion, then do make sure to attend the actual town hall meeting. Again, that is Thursday the 22nd at the Alfredo Andrews School in St. Croix from 6 to 8, and Thursday the 29th at the Public Service Commission office in Babel Plaza in St. Thomas. Okay? So those are the announcements that I have so far that are important. Now, naturally, I must make sure you understand that the 23rd, which is a week from Friday, okay, there will be that most important Senate committee meeting with the Bill 36-0187 will be debated, and I am asking, please, if you are a supporter or if you are uh, want the choice to be able to vote by paper ballot, and let's make sure you understand it's not just a matter of voting by paper ballot, it's a matter of this particular process of the paper ballot being complete, in that the paper ballot does not in any way go into a um, tabulator. Okay, no, this particular process or choice that we're looking for is that paper ballot process that does not have anything to do with voting machinery. So if this is what the choice that you want for your vote on a paper ballot, please make the sacrifice. And I say sacrifice because, yes, I know on a Friday morning people are busy, but please do make the sacrifice to show up in the Legislative Hall in St. Thomas if you're on that island, or in St. Croix if you're on this island, in order to just sit and let the senators who are particularly the members of the Senate Operation Committee see that there are people, young and mature, who want this access to the choice of voting. Okay? And I say young and mature because I have met quite a few young people who said yes, for whatever reason, they would prefer to be able to vote by paper ballot. They don't want to deal with machinery. So please, if you have the time, and you don't have to be right now a registered voter to be able to come and sit and show your support. No, as long as you support the fact that you should have, people should have a choice in voting with the paper ballot that does not deal with machine. We're asking for you to pack the house in the Legislative Hall on Friday, January 23rd. That's a week from this Friday, 9 a.m. in the Legislative Hall. Okay? And for those of you who are not familiar, what I'm going to do is I'm bringing up now the copy of the, sorry, um, of the bill that is in its form as it is being will be presented. Okay, and I'm reading from the blue form of Bill 360187. Okay, and I'm saying blue because it's the part of the process of the legislature when the bill has been properly numbered and performed, it appears on a blue paper. Okay, so it says an act amending Title 18 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 23, Section 626. I'm sorry, Section 622, requiring the Board of Elections to count by hand votes deposited in a ballot box, proposed by Senator Franklin D. Johnson. And it reads, be it enacted by the legislature of the Virgin Islands. Section 1, Title 18, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 23, Section 622 is amended by designating the existing paragraph as subsection A and inserting the following subsections: B as in boy, C as in cat, and D as in dog. Okay? And section B is to read, after the paper ballots are removed from the ballot box, the votes shall be counted by hand. Okay? And C will read, the election officers shall count the ballots in a manner that allows watchers to see the ballots when open and read. The election officer handling the ballot after it has been taken from the ballot box may not have a marking device in hand or remove a ballot from the immediate vicinity of the polls. And section D will read, ballots may not be counted before 8 p.m. on the day of the election. Okay? And that is the full narrative of Bill number 360187. And folks, speaking for myself, because I'm hearing people with the opposition saying that we're doing this to do away with machinery. No, we're not. We're doing this because going to the machine, the voting machine is one option, and we're just asking for the second option of having the paper ballot that does not in any way touch the machine. And let me point out, because in doing my research concerning this bill, I was told that the ballot boxes that existed, the wooden specific constructed wooden ballot boxes, were destroyed. How true that is, I don't know. But at any rate, the department, the Board of Election, the election system, has what they would call the plastic see-through boxes, which of the type that they have on the end of them, an area that they can put a tab through in order to lock the boxes. Okay, and that is all that is required of a specific ballot box. That it has an area that the ballots can be inserted without opening the box itself, and that it do have an area at which that the box can be secured, that it cannot be tampered with, because that is what is the most important. And that was what the way in which the wooden boxes were constructed. They had a slot that run down the middle of the top of the box, and when it was pulled back, it revealed the opening which the ballots was inserted, and then the slot was pushed back in place and padlocked on the end in order to secure it when the boxes had to be locked. Okay, so we're looking forward to on the Friday next week. Okay, that this bill will be, well, um, dealt with favorably by the Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection on the 23rd of this month. Okay, and that the bill will follow its process, uh, con- continual, continuing in a favorable passage until it then goes to the full Senate session, and allowing those of us who want the option to be able to have that option. Okay. Folks, I just for a minute want to, you know, I cannot neglect the main topic, the main interest of this program, which is public school education. We're in the first month of January. We're in the second week, okay, of the second semester. And I say second week because after all the St. Croix Christmas Festival break, school reopened, public schools reopened last Thursday, the 8th of January. So tomorrow will make the first week that children have their new schedule, and this is the secondary schools only, because elementaries don't deal on a semester system. Only secondary goes on a semester system. And again, let me explain for those who are not knowledgeable that by semester, what we mean is that every child, every student on the secondary level with the second semester, they get a new set of courses with a different set of teachers. Okay, whatever courses they had first semester from August to December, those are over with, those are passed and done. They should have already gotten their grades, that whatever the final grade was for those courses for the first semester. So now they're on a clean slate with a new set of four classes and a new set of four teachers. And hopefully they will do better this second semester because the GPA, okay, will be cumulative. When they finish this May, that GPA will be adjusted to include the second semester, and hopefully the majority of our students will be increasing their GPA um, to finish off the school year, whether it's with ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, or our graduating seniors. Okay, and pretty soon, I'm sure, the different public schools will be holding their parent associations or parent organizations meetings for the 2026 year. And I am just asking and reminding again that parents, it is your duty, your obligation to attend those meetings and to advocate for the needs of the students where it's concerned, where the public school situations are concerned, whatever the needs are, whether it's the needs with the facility or it's the needs with the academics or with CTEC if the needs with the vocational. Okay, it is up to the parents, yes, the parents, to advocate for those needs to be addressed, whatever they happen to be. Now, I do know that, for instance, in CTEC, when we finished off last year, we were waiting and hoping for the adjustment, the upgrade of the electrical over on the CTEC side. The upper level, there was a problem that the electrical needed to be upgraded so that the new ACs, okay, that supply the library and some of the main offices and whatnot, would then be able to be properly installed. We're having with many of our public school facilities, we have a problem where the wattage that was original is not sufficient in order to accommodate the new technologies and whatnot that's been added. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Ms. Moorhead. I heard you said they're having a special meeting with the Board of Elections.
Correct,
Do you,
tomorrow.
do you, what is on the agenda?
I'm sorry because they did not include an agenda with the notice. It just said, give me 1 minute while I pull it up again. Um, okay. It just said that the special meeting is called to discuss and receive feedback from board members on the status of operations of the Board of Elections. That's all it says. But I am
Okay.
understanding from being able to see some email that was forwarded to me that the board members are hoping to include a discussion of the bill 360187 that is also going to be discussed in that Senate committee hearing.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. Okay. Yes. So, folks, what I'm saying is, please, parents, and yes, I'm here at the St. Croix Radio Show, but I am speaking to parents throughout the territory. Okay, with the public schools, please make considerable uh, uh change because it is a shame that uh well, the ones I attend over here, that the attendance is not commemorative of the enrollment. Okay, for the most part, well, in St. Croix, our public schools average around 300 enrollment and up. There are schools in the St. Thomas district that have smaller enrollment, but the point is that you don't even have a good 10% of the enrollment where parents are concerned when you have the parent meetings, and that is really unacceptable. Parents, your children, the students will do better, okay, if they could at least be have the trust and confidence that the parents see education as something important, and the way you demonstrate the importance of that education is by attending those parent meetings. Okay, because if the children I mean, whether they say something or not, but if they know that there's a parent meeting at their school, but hey, they're home and they don't see anyone looking interested in attending the meeting, and they're looking at you sitting right there watching TV, or or reading a book or whatever. Not to say that's not important, but the point is this is once a month. Okay, one evening a month. It's not asking too much. And usually they run about an hour and a half, 2 hours the most, unless there's some specific presentations, because sometimes officers do invite people to come and make presentations for the awareness, okay, and enlightenment of the parents with something to have to do with the operation of the school. So usually those presentation would be for the benefit and the awareness of the parents. But the point is, you have to get up and go to the parent meetings so that you will then demonstrate the importance to the children as to their education and their performance in school. And do remember that every one of you have that 2 hour, okay, that is granted by legislation for you to leave your employment and visit your child's school. Okay? Just remember when you go to have the office give you the necessary note, that form, whatever it is. I don't know. Some schools, I think, have established a standard form, but please be sure that you get that form or that note that you then take back with you to your place of employment, so the time that you spent away from your work is not in any way negatively affected. You are granted by legislation 2 hours administrative leave with pay to go and check on the progress of your child at your child's school. So please take advantage of that. Yes, it is. We're in the first month of the new um, semester. Okay, it isn't too soon, because if anything, and I'm making the plea for those of you, yes, to take that 2 hours this month, because it's important for you to now go and introduce yourself, okay, to the teachers, the new teachers that your child has, okay? And those of you who have children on the elementary level, yes, there's nothing new. They're in the same class, but hello, it is good still again to show, make a show of your interest to the teachers, okay? Now, the one thing that I think the schools do ask is that if you call the office and ask as to what time period, okay, in elementary, what time period that teacher is available, in case you have some discussion that you may want to have. So then you need to go on what is called the teacher's prep time, meaning that they're not in class giving instruction, so they're available for a short discussion. I say short because usually, and I am a former educator, when we're on that prep time, we sometimes have something that we are looking to look into, some, that we want to run to a counselor, or that we want to communicate with a colleague or something like that. So it's important that, whatever you're going to do, that you make sure to don't try and take up the full time of the teacher's prep period. Know what you want to discuss and be prompt about the discussion. Okay? So, but as I said, use the 2 hour that you have every month. Okay? You can't over visit 2 hours every month to check on the progress of your child is not overdoing. Okay, so don't think that yeah, you go this month. What you don't think? Well, hello, skip February and wait till March. No, no, go every month. Okay, so I'm hoping that we have um, an increase in the attendance of parents at the parent meetings. Okay, um, now I want to point out that the Board of Education, okay, will be doing their visits to schools. We've already scheduled the dates. Okay, they are going to be in February. Um, as a matter of fact, the we're going to do all the St. Croix schools on that week right after President's Day. Okay, so February 17th to Tuesday, sorry, excuse me, Tuesday, February 17th to Friday, February 20th is when we are going to, the members of the Board of Education will be spending those 4 days making the rounds to all the schools in St. Croix. And then the following week, Tuesday, February 24th to Friday, February 27th, we will do a similar in the district of St. Thomas, St. John, which is a little bit more hectic. Okay, really? And I say this is my opinion because, one, the traffic in St. Thomas, boy, it's not easy going from one school to the other. And then let's not forget that we have that one ferry ride to Sprout School in St. John. So it is a bit more uh, time consuming and a little more hectic when we do the school visits in the St. Thomas, St. John district because of those different things. Folks, you just realized, yes, I didn't give you the numbers. If you want to join the conversation or if you want to bring up your own topic, it is 340-773-0390 or 773-0490. You're welcome to call anytime and comment on anything I'm saying or comment on some other topic that you have of concern. Okay, so folks, it is important that education is put on the front burner this election year. And I say that because, yes, I know we have so many concerns that there are going to be so many things on the front burner. Um, hmm, uh, this election year. Okay. For one, I know definitely there is the matter of the health, our health situation with our hospitals that don't seem to be moving. By moving, I mean the repairs, the construction, the vacating of the buildings in order for the demolitions that have to take place to happen so that then the new constructions can happen. Okay, and we're talking both hospitals, Wang Lui and Snyder. I do believe Wang Lui was scheduled to be first up front. Everything seemingly was in place. What the delay is, I don't know. Um, I do believe that the moving again or moving now to complete the the vacating of the Wang Lui building. And I'm saying that because I have seen some movement, some activity at the building across from the KFC there in Sunny Isle that was said to be the alternate site for some of the health offices. And I did see some activity going on that it looks like they're finally occupying that building, which then means that finally the Wang Lui Hospital will be completely empty so that work can, the demolition can begin and we can look forward to construction. Folks, this is a election year, okay? November of this year is a very important full ballot, and my full ballot again. Let me make sure you understand that it means that you'll have the position of delegate to Congress, we'll have the position of governor, lieutenant governor, we'll have the position of senators, board of education, and board of election.
Hey,
So-
Mr. Benta, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, folks, we finally dealt and overpowered the technology. So we have Mr. Oakland Benta online. Good afternoon, Mr. Benta.
Good afternoon to you, Ms. Moorhead, as well, and to your listening audience.
Thank you for joining us. And since we're starting a little late and I don't want to interfere with your schedule, so all I'm going to say is, folks, we have Mr. Okambenta who's going to be directing and giving you enlightenment. And so go ahead, Mr. Benta.
And thank you. And to the listening audience, I wish you Godspeed as well. As the people of the territory has realized for the past several months, maybe years for some who was paying attention, that many warnings were given to our esteemed administration and education and awareness to the people of the territory on the certain fractions, information of which I brought forward to the community. Many ran afoul and made critics criticize the information to be what you call north or not correct, or pretty much trying to taint the names of, as they call it, upstanding citizens of the Virgin Islands. Moreover, while the warnings were being presented and the awareness with intellect has been prepared for us to digest, absorb, and with nutrition behind it, our own, who's supposed to be the esteemed scholars of the territory, were not cognizant to the facts. Instead, what has happened over the years, ladies and gentlemen, I've been a forward fighter, straightforward with the community at all costs. Whether I stood alone or not, I still remain steadfast to the truth. I'm being honest and forthcoming in realizing that many of whom sit in our elected offices, they themselves are not aware or they're aloof to facts. And the facts remain, as many have perpetrated the act of trying to create insolence and destroy the information or the messenger. Now the message is clear. Today, as I mentioned several years ago, prior to us getting to this state where now there's what you call the big beautiful bill, and it will impact the SNAP program. It will impact other federal programs that will definitely create hardship for many households. Some of the rationale behind some of the explanation before we got here was that the government of the Virgin Islands needed to conduct its audits and provide its appropriate data to satisfy the different segments of governance. Each agency, human services, the hospital, and all of the areas of the government of which there are commissioners and directors that oversees these programs from where we receive federal subsidies or grant, we ignored it. I explained to the people of the Virgin Islands that the Government Accountability Office has instructed and made aware to the people of this territory that they were prepared to provide $60 million to assist states and territories to enable them to perform what's required. What's required is that we should have been providing the data and, of course, our finances as far as what we've done with the federal funds. And the way it worked, or should have worked, in 2019, when the Government Accountability Office was moving forward to assist the territories, the Office of Management and Budget Director at the time said that we didn't need it. We never enacted it. We never utilized the process. And the process would have been that through the Government Accountability Office, the funding of which I mentioned of the 60 million, they would have hired individuals, local individuals, to work in the respective office of the Government Accountability Office, Government Accountability. They would have conducted the audits, assisting the government agencies, and through that, they would have provided their findings in accordance with what's required. The data, where there's so many people on many of these programs who are under assisted, and we call it providing assistance to our government and local, in every way, individuals the best we can to make sure that they have a healthy living. But our government didn't see this. The awareness was not adhered to. And while singing this for so many years, our government decided to create a vacuum of individuals who would pretty much try to come in my direction to destroy the information the best they can. I warned the government of the Virgin Islands when I realized that this was an attempt to try to destroy the messenger that is very prudent and understand governance and government in tenfolds. So I fractioned myself by saying to those who have preceded me in educating me, those who have held my hand and have guided me, those who saw that there was something in me and made sure that they educated me properly. And in that essence, I was able to go into doors that there isn't any government official in this territory can walk through today. And there wouldn't be those doors available to them in any time soon. The government of the Virgin Islands today is perceived as a participant in terrorist organization. And what does that mean? If you could recall, Ms. Moorhead, I spoke about the CBI program, the CIP program. And the CBI is the Citizen by Investment and Citizen Investment Program, CIP, CBI. And what has been happening for the past several years is that our neighbors, our sister islands, in a way for the ministers or the government officials to become rich, they found a way to make money. But in making money, they created an issue that impacts the West, where we are located. And what was happening is they were allowing people from all over the world who are pretty much enemies of the United States. And through the program, many, many sleeping cells came through those programs. In some of the countries, our neighboring countries, the CBI citizenship is much vast than local born on those islands. But the irony behind it today, as we go back to 9/11, where through the Virgin Islands, there was one individual who was here, who departed from here, and we've been a part of hijacking one of the aircrafts, one of the St. Martin, one of Antigua. And here we are where, while our local officials should have known, and we really should have known, that this is going to be a cross-section of information that we should pay attention to. And the looming light and many, where it's discovered that a lot of our elected officials, instead of paying attention to the issues of the people, they were paying attention to how they can enrich themselves. To the fact that some went to Malaysia to hide funds, federal funds that they scammed the government of, and is hiding it in these offshore bank. We have Nevis, the Hamilton Bank in Nevis, which they move money from Nevis directly to Lupa, into Dubai, into Africa. Then we have the Bahamas, where it's an offshore, where they move the money from Nevis to the Bahamas. And I'm saying these things to our people because there are a lot of people who are getting ready to run for the governor's office and other elected offices. And I sit today in a position to speak candidly because I am an operation director, where I manage and supervise several individuals all over the world. And I thank again those people who have been there to help me and guide me in making sure that it remains steadfast. That today the governor of the Virgin Islands and all of us are considered entities that has participated in terrorist organizations. Why is that? See, what happened is our elected official didn't realize that some of these banks, they're moving through the back doors, are banks that has been funding terrorist organizations. And we get caught up in that. In being cautious of how far I go with the explanation, I take my time to regress a little bit and bring you forward so that you have a full understanding. Several months ago, the United States of America placed a military armada on the south shore of St. Croix when the issue with what's taking place in the Caribbean with Venezuela was really at a hiatus where people were not paying attention. And I'm talking to the government of the Virgin Islands as well. So with that, the armada structured itself off the shores of St. Croix in preparation for any foreign or domestic attack on the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is a strategic vantage point for the military. In speaking to our government officials, which I did, and asking of them to pay attention, from the governor's office to the senators and many commissioners, there was one of those things where you're trying to educate, but the essence of understanding and making sense of things just wasn't making sense.
Mm.
When you saw right in front of you everything that was taking place, we look at where we are as we don't have to get involved because we're in the Virgin Islands and we can fight the United States tooth and nail in every direction. When there were protections off our shore, waiting to make sure that we maintained our status, maintained our ability to survive, where nothing slipped through. Because through the CBI program and what they've done through it, many instruments and devices and pieces were shipped to a lot of these Caribbean islands.
Mm.
And while they're being assembled or attempted to be assembled in a fashion, the interruption was pretty much swift. So while Russia sent the pads for rocket launchers to Venezuela and the kidnapping of several US citizens, and in Greenland, I'm bringing you guys so you understand as a body, we start from your head, your two arms, and your feet. Greenland and Canada, where Russia and China has already established themselves in those positions, and then Venezuela, Mexico, or Colombia at the foot of the United States, and then South Africa and the OECS and CARICOM section that's pretty much within the sides of America. The intent was to crush the United States of America, but we wouldn't understand that. This event is talking nonsense. I want you to watch the steps that's taking place. Every Caribbean island is going to be banned from traveling to the United States. The visas that has been issued is going to be revoked. There's a time limit for that on the 21st of this month. And you're going to see a lot of the other things taking place as America begin to take its rightful place. We have a lot of family in the diaspora, yes. But this is us in the U.S. Virgin Islands who we became what you call the soft target. And the soft target means it is understood that there will never be another 9/11 of such of which took place in New York and some of the other states where they hijacked these aircrafts. But our numbers are small. Our defense is weak. Our National Guard does not have the capacity to defend. So here comes the military armada to defend us. But instead, while the education of informing our people was not had, because the knowledge is not there, while the awareness or even the guiding light of saying thank you to the United States or the Defense Force or the military was not there, they still remained steadfast to defend us at all costs. Our government instead saw a discussion to say that at least we will increase our gross receipts. Not thank you to the men and women who serve. And I want to take this time, Ms. Mohan, to thank them. I want to thank the Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio. I want to thank you for listening to me. I want to thank Secretary Hexet of DOW, Department of War, who also listened. And I want to thank many others who, some short time, you will see them visiting this territory. I want to thank them for listening to the voice that was not heard. I was able to work with the federal government. While the government officials here thought that when I said, when you come at me, you come at every citizen in this territory. Despite our citizens understanding the fight on their behalf, I continue to fight and continue to fight. I made sure when I said to them several years ago that this fight would not be within a court within the U.S. Virgin Islands managed by any local judges, nor would it be handled by any local attorneys as far as our Attorney General's office. I said this would be completely different. And the dynamics of it will be completely different because there's not going to be any input from anyone in this territory to stop this investigation. See, when they thought they were defeating me by doing what they did with the Board of Election, I'm going to talk to the Board of Election soon, by making sure that I didn't win the election, making sure that I was out. They don't know the nature of this person, the character that I have. It's impeccable. It's respectable, but it also is earnest because I had great parents and great teachers and great neighbors and great friends who made sure that I stayed within a path that looks out for everyone. And in doing so, in my heart, every single day, when I could see and know that the suffering is coming, and I know what's going to come in a way that the people will not understand, and the question is going to be how did we get here? But yet, our administrators of the government pretend like everything is okay when it's not. You see, by February, going forward, with over 500 agents in this territory, with the Department of War that has an office here today, well, in the Virgin Islands, it has an office there. And what's taking place, as you're going to see so many people who rely on the benefits from the federal government being removed from lists because our government didn't do what it's supposed to, then the cry for help will begin. So why aren't we making sure we bridge that gap before we got there? But bringing all the warnings and explanation and the all fell on deaf ears, now the time is here where who don't hear would feel. But it's unfortunate that those who will feel are those who have not a Jesus Christ thing to do with the process. But our government continues to speak as if everything is okay. We sat last night while on a conference with several individuals, we were talking. And one of the questions was, or is, if the people of the territory don't take a position and we continue along the merry way that everything is okay until something happens, it is hard to rekindle with the United States and say that we didn't know, nor were we a part of what our elected officials did for themselves and how they did it. And while the Government Accountability Office has said to the people of this territory, because we said we didn't need a statistician, a chief statistician assigned through Government Accountability, through OMB, Office of Management and Budget, the highlight of what have occurred with our government officials, as more will be arrested, as more shame will come to this territory, as more further funds will be sent back. I don't care who sits where and they say, oh, we're doing better. We're bankrupt. This territory is in a bad way. A false economy, still working under a state of emergency, in a sense. We still have not recovered based on the disasters we've had. We're still in recovery mode. Despite the roads are drivable and you have current in your homes, schools open, we're still in a recovery mode. And we will remain in a recovery mode until the funding appropriated for the territory has been expended. But the expansion of the funds is not going to come fast because there are a lot of the contractors and a lot of the underhanded paperwork that's being done that actually slows down the process because it's corruption. I wouldn't call names today to a certain level, except for those who have already been addressed. But I'll speak about the government agencies that have a lot to look out for. The Board of Election and its officers, while they thought that algorithms were secret, and while they thought by being smart with certain people in these back rooms and having discussions where people never know or note as far as what's going on, that they could do things in secret, you mess with the wrong set of people that understands it. I will go to my grave to fight for my home because this home fought for me. I will make sure that there's no stone left unturned. Whether it is family or not, the consequences will be what they should be. I am pushing for the people of the Virgin Islands to understand that whether Tom Jones run for governor or senator, whatever have you, none have a say what's taking place today. And how severe can I really make you understand? How can I make you understand how dangerous this is, where the VI government has no standing because we're participants in the behavior and the corruption and the threat? we will not see a brighter day while some, and I won't say all, because we have some good people who really mean well for the territory, while some still sit in those positions and pretending to be what you call the Sikh goals, well, the Salvation Army, in a sense that they're the ones that can bring prosperity to you. Well, if that's the case, why we're not there yet? How many years we're speaking about hospitals and our seniors, and how many discussions have been had, and while you have the fish run, a little dance and quadrille and so forth. But after that, what happens? They go back to the same conditions, right? The same treatment. But for a moment or a day or two, it's a glorified moment. But then after that, it's suffering for our people. We got to change that. And it's not going to change right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I say until the Epstein saga is over, which is just beginning. And the warning was, once the establishment of the United States in the Western Hemisphere, as trivial as it looks, many look at what's going on in Trinidad and you see what's going on with the ministers of the other country. Grenada now, every American has been ordered out of Grenada. Grenada in 1983 was invaded by Cuba, China, Russia, and Venezuela. The US government moved an armada. And I'm explaining these things as we go along to come back home. So we begin to learn the footsteps that was taken by many of those who sit in position to represent this territory. So Eugenia Charles of Dominica, in her wisdom, made an appointment with President then Reagan to come to the Caribbean to help Grenada get itself out of the predicament it was. And at the time, there was American University as well. The United States moved an armada. For 3 days, they spent over $130+ million. 3 days. And after they were able to retain or regain control of the island, they spent another $60 to $70 million to help them get their feet back on the ground. Not one country from the OECS or CARICOM was able to jump in and assist them. Not one. Not one. The United States acts of Grenada during this process and the coup which was formulated. I want you to forget about the President of the United States. He's the voice. The voice brings the message, but the message came from other agencies within the federal government. The United States asks of Grenada for them to install a radar station. The government of Grenada said no. But it allowed for China to do what they're doing. It moved and asked the government of Antigua. The government of Antigua said no. But it allowed for China to occupy an island right off the shore of Antigua by the name of Guana Island. America, realizing what's taking place, and listening to the Prime Minister of Dominica and Antigua, gave the solemn solidarity of service and proclaimed Julio Chavez and Fidel Castro as the freedom fighters of the West. The freedom fighters of the West. So America becomes something different. And I know some of our own people said America is a bully and trying to destabilize the world. One nuclear explosion within this diaspora wipes out the entire Virgin Islands. I don't think our people understand that. The mushroom and the plume, as far as how it travels, will wipe us out.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. And I mentioned earlier, Greenland, Canada, at the head of the United States of America. South Africa, the OECS, and CARICOM on the sides of the United States. Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, Venezuela, and the lower end, which is our feet. Cut us off at our feet, take the head off. That was the plan. Then you remove the kidneys and the heart and the lungs. We were in the middle of that. So I said to our people, while I'm listening to our delegate to Congress and all that they're proclaiming to do to get done, I say to them, please take a seat and stop disrespecting the people of this territory. Seriously. And this is a warning from me more in depth than you can imagine. I said to all those others who are not proclaiming that they will be running for certain offices, once you know what you've been involved in, I say stand down. The documents are clear. our territory needs a fair chance to fight, a fair chance to redeem ourselves of our credibility, of our status, and our ability to really be part of the representation of who we are fallen under. And as the Virgin Islands of the United States, where we don't have a status quo to speak about, because individuals who sit in position of authority don't even know how to get there. They don't. What they've done and time again is have taken us backwards into what you call a colonialist behavior, where we can't begin to even speak liberally on our own to protect ourselves. We just side with individuals, made money certain way, and forgot about whom you serve. And my warning comes very harsh. The documents that I'm privy to, the accounts that I'm privy to, the homes and houses that I'm privy to that they have all over the place that they think is not known, and where these dollars came from. Leave our people alone, please. Today, Ms. Moorhead, your show is being recorded and being carefully monitored for what's being discussed here. And it's to make sure, because we want the people to know, and our partner, our defenders to know, that we are in fact the Virgin Islands of the United States. However, in being the Virgin Islands of the United States, it doesn't mean that we are sublime or that we're weak and that we don't have any purpose, no standing, that we can fight and defend the best we can with what we have. Pound for pound, as the second population of the military armed service of the United States per capita, Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands, we have shown that we are, in fact, patronizers and individuals who understand to work in solidarity, because we have many of our own veterans who have lost their lives in combat to serve this country. We continue to push forward and to make the people realize that we have a purpose. While the Virgin Islands is perceived as a corrupted territory, that just about everyone, and once the name is labeled and one, it's on everybody. It's on me, it's on the people of this territory. And I've said in different shows, even though they would say, not you, Benta, because it's not a because. If it's one, it's all. That's the way I look at it. But I am not going to let those who walk the line that create the misnomer of our reputation as people who stand for purpose to be guided by just a certain few. We remove them from the bushel. Remove the bad apples. We're not going to spoil the whole bushel because of a few. How many arrests are we looking at? With all the whistleblowers that we've had and all the information that we've gathered, with all the information from one person who gives one information that goes to one person, the other person becomes five. In other words, there's Tom Jones. Tom Jones is interviewed, and Tom Jones mentioned 5 names. And every one of those 5 names, of which discussions I had with, they mentioned 5 more names. When you look at what's taking place here in this monopoly, because it was easy money, they thought that it was okay. Because what? They became the superiority of this territory, and there's nobody above the governor except what they didn't pay attention to. And that's what we were able to bring to this territory. We've been able to bring a clear, concise direction that brought the Department of War to open an office in the U.S. Virgin Islands, that has brought more of the agents, because one obstacle that might have been there is gone. And the obstacle would have been the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands. And that's gone. We don't have an Attorney General's office, really. Wow. When I say that, I'm saying there is nothing really. It's a show right now for the office and those who sit in office. And we have good people in there, don't get me wrong. But the individuals are guided and participated in facilitating the actions by turning a blind eye to the fact, rather than Mother Justice, who is blindfolded, but the scale of balance is still in her hand. Our office that should have been having oversight turned a blind eye. Then we have Ms. Denise George, who is now a U.S. attorney, who moved to the next level of making sure that certain things are, in fact, being addressed. I want to thank her for being that stalwart as well, for looking forward to seeing that the Virgin Islands recover in a proper manner. It's not easy when you have your own who are steadfast. And Ms. Moorhead, as I've heard you time and time again speak candidly on the issues when it comes to education, for what they did to you during the election, and many things that created a serious displacement of our people behavior and our attitudes. Now the time is here before us. Again, this is foretelling before other actions are taken. Anyone in this territory, yes, we're family, or we're human beings, and we have sympathy and we have emotions. But while the parties are taking place and the celebrations are taking place, individuals are traveling on a dime and they don't care whether you eat or how you sleep or how you get health care. But the monies that they receive and they know it's illegal, they don't care. I'm hearing a lot of people saying they feel sorry for this person or that person. If you're sorry, then you're not sorry for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to understand that. If there's an emotion, some guys, I feel sorry for Tom. On the SNAP program, certain data that should have been provided, if you're doing $75 or $100 or whatever dollar, you should have been at a certain level. The government of the Virgin Islands has programs. I hear them talking about the SLICE program and so forth. Under the SLICE program, to participate or be a person who meets the requirement for the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, for segment of the SLICE program, you must be making at least $41,000. And this is a government-ran program. The government itself, as far as any program in the government, the salary that every government employee has should qualify you to be able to participate in any program. And St. Croix is $41,000. And St. Thomas is $45,000. And St. John is $47,000. What person at the lower end of this totem pole of employment of the government is making that sort of fund? Legislation just passed that says they're moving everyone up to 35 minimum to 35,000.
Yeah.
But what should have been done with that? I applaud it, but it also needed what you call a tax study to be done, so that when we're talking about increase in salaries, you got to know what the price of grocery is in the supermarkets, fuel for your vehicle, medical all those medicines and so forth. Those are things that we were supposed to take in consideration. And I thank the bill sponsor and so forth in moving, but I want them to go a little more further. A part of the American Recovery Plan, the $540 million of which we obtained. The supermarkets, as it is, based on the syntax and so forth that we have in place, the costs of services and goods to go up in some areas, we could have used some of those funds to offset the cost of the trailers coming in to lower the prices of the produce and products on the shelves in the supermarket. But we didn't do that. You know what we did? It was an election year, and we began to splash cash. Splash cash. A lot of people forgot that through the MAP, Governor MAP, I want to be respectful, Governor MAP administration, there was a CDBGDR funding. I want people to understand what I mean. And under the CDBGDR funding, it allotted for every lineage of road in this territory to be rebuilt, not resurfaced, rebuild roads. But we started splashing cash on the roads and saying we fixing the roads. And immediately after the election, $300+ million exhausted, everything came to an abrupt stop. Once you touch an area of which you're funded for by the federal government, the federal government said, well, you touch it, so you got to finish it however you finish it. Our government said that our GDP is $1,700,000,000. Ladies and gentlemen, our collections, besides the government subsidy, was about 600 million. So where did the GDP get the 1.7? And every year you're going to hear that we have a deficit. Deficit means that we didn't meet the goal that we said we'll meet to justify that. But it becomes one of those things to fool the masses. And that's why we're still saying why we don't have this bill. When I speak about the hospitals, I have a dear passion for that, Ms. Moorhead, in bringing doctors to the shore at no cost to anyone, not even the government, that understands public-private partnership. I was shocked when the administration laughed at me about PPP. Yeah, I guess they've never heard of that before, but now you're hearing a lot about PPPs now. But the PPPs that they're speaking about is me. The individuals who bring in this public-private partnership. There's a percentage on the corporation that comes right back to them. Realizing that the people of the Virgin Islands is what they say, not me, that the people of the Virgin Islands are naive. give them a little Cruise and rum and coke, give them a little wine and jam, give them a little roast pork or coquito and all these other things. They will forget about everything just for that moment. And when it wears off, what happens? The damage is done. You still have the issues with WAPA. You still have the issues with healthcare, and the issues in every single hemisphere of this government still exists. And if any part of it is addressed, it's but a certain few, a certain friends that get the remedies, certain friends. And those certain friends, when I said under the American Recovery Plan, we could have given every household $100,000. I said it. But instead it became laughable. They said, oh, Benta is talking nonsense. How are you going to take federal funds and give it to people like that? American recovery. Helping American get back on their feet. But this government used exactly what I said, created a so-called lottery, so-called, pull numbers out of a lottery agency. The lottery of the Virgin Islands or any gambling entity cannot be part of the administering of government services in that fashion. $2 million was placed into the lottery, and so-called 20 people received $100,000. Federal funds, American, people understand American Recovery Plan, the APA funds. Today, what number they use to say that this number is John Doe's number. The only number everybody has here in this territory that's recognized federally is a Social Security number. What number they use? And how did they officiate this? And how did the director of the lottery, through the lottery operation, become a lottery of federal funds? How? Putting you on notice. You've heard me say this before. But the government of the Virgin Islands enabled it. Through the Office of Management and Budget, this government allowed them to finance to tranche $2 million into the Virgin Island Lottery for this scam. People, if you don't hear or understand what it is to be real and straightforward, you're not going to find anybody more candid than me. While I sit here alone and working along with so many things between Trinidad and Venezuela, Guyana, Grenada, throughout this Caribbean, some of the prime ministers of the country try to impugn my name in an issue. Now they find themselves at the other end because you don't mess with God's child. You try to be the fair person, do what's right the best you can. And every time you look, there's someone who have another plan, and the plan does not include you. You remember when they created this thing, they said, hey, we're going to auction off people's property because they're not paying their property taxes. You remember that?
Yeah.
It took, again, myself jumping out under the American Recovery Plan, where they hit segments of it that says that if you have issues paying your mortgage or your property tax or your rent, that through a segment of the American Recovery Plan that you can be subsidized and pay these things on your behalf. Our government didn't introduce that. They moved straight into garnishing people's property, auctioning it off until I came forward. But I became the bad person. I became the bad person when I said to the people of this territory, be mindful of where we're moving and how we're moving with the affairs of the people of this territory, because it's going to come back to haunt all of us. What's the plan going forward? Can the Virgin Islands be rescued? Yes. And what would be the method of the methodology of rescuing the Virgin Islands? It comes with prudency. It comes with fair thinking, straight shooting, and individuals who have character and morals with moralities to serve. Not those who just want to be part of the gimme gang. Whatever I can get is mine, whatever happens to you, that's your business. Because I can assure you a lot of them have homes in Puerto Rico as well. And you guys know what I'm talking about. And some of you have these businesses in Africa. You know what I'm talking about. And some of you have these businesses in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know what I'm talking about. And some of you have business all through Atlanta and as well as Orlando. You know what I'm talking about? And some of you have what you call shares in a lot of these contracted companies through a back door that you figure you could be smart and you can hide it. You can't hide from Uncle Sam like that. You can't. And unfortunately, the federal government has made the Virgin Islands its pet peeve. It's been too long. So much has been done. But at the same time, to sway a direction of one that says that the people of the Virgin Islands has an understanding, it took sacrifice. I work every single day. I apply myself where when the call is made, I don't have a choice, but I do have a choice. But I make my choice the choice that serves the people because it needs a level-headed person to say, not this person and not that person. And because these people can't eat, they move along and increase a contract from 100,000 or 2 million or 5 million and they move it to 10 because if they don't do it, they can't eat. This is how they have our local contractors, you know. They have our local people doing things to our own people because they have to remit back to those individuals who awarded the contract a percentage. I know it sounds condescending that this can be happening within our government. Tried, proven, conviction. And while some of those have already been convicted, there's other cases that's coming up against them. So I'm ruling you forward to show you this damage that was done or is done to this territory. It needs an individual who's going to take the appropriate step forward. Not an individual that sit there and know, so when I ain't saying nothing because I want to be a team player and I don't want to become part of the status quo and being disruptive. Disruptive? Every ancestry that you and I have in this territory who lays in a grave, and every senior citizen in these territories who our own esteemed elected officials said that the retirees are living too long and they're draining the GRS. The GRS ain't being drained. The GRS became what you call a slush fund for some people. As you realize that in the GRS, members of the GRS have what you call 401k and so forth, but the regular government employees don't. Huh? How is it different from the government sector? That something different is happening there. And then we look at the EDA and EDC and all these other programs exist and you see these people with the salaries of over 200,000, 100,000. I'm not beating the cause, you know. I am beating the disenfranchisement of the people of this territory when you look for yourself and not everybody else. Diversification of our economy. Today, in sitting with several industries, our government is running to Africa and other places saying and bringing investors. I don't know how they're doing that, but they're going through the State Department. And we're insular territory. I don't know how they're going through these things without the Department of Interior to a certain degree. Where in it, there's nothing that has been applied or the companies that they're sitting with, they can come into the Virgin Islands and do what you want. We made promises to countries that we would bring people from their country to work here in the territory. What about our own? A lot of these young men out there in the corner that I've spent time with and so forth, who work hard, skilled, but can't get an opportunity. A lot of them came back from the studies away and they're sitting in the same place for years because the government says that they don't have no qualification. And in some instances, they're overqualified. The Department of Labor has a program, a federal program, that if you apply to the Department of Labor, there's a placement that can place you. And they will provide what is SNAP, provide housing and so forth, and have you on a training program, right? If you don't have the experience and so forth. Are we not utilizing these things? Instead, what happens when you go in, you walk back out the door. No young men and women supposed to walk out of any agency, government agency that is, when you go for a job, personnel, otherwise, they should be referred to programs that exist federally to assist them. To assist. How many of those programs be used? Every 2 weeks, our government employees who sit in position, they get paid. So it's not a rush, it's not a factor of care. And then you have individuals for halfway homes who said, okay, they want to work with some of the inmates when they come out, they can have at least a way forward to get the foot back on the ground. No, we love recidivism. Recidivism is individuals who go into jail and because when they come out, they can't they go back to what they were doing before because they were not given opportunities. No, the whole halfway homes and so forth, and programs to get them going. We create these nonsense. We create our own demise because we sit in it in a certain way and said to the people, you are just who you're going to be. And in some instances, you can't even get through a door with an application. Why is that? Why is that? I'll tell you why. If certain people in this territory, when you go for a job, does not approve for you to get that job, you're not going to get it. If certain people in this territory does not approve for you to get a job, you're not going to get it. And in some instances, our young ladies have to lift the skirts in order to get there. Our young men have to do other things to get there. And then individuals who may have been in jail for a while and finally get a chance for parole, they have to provide a service once they parole to certain people. Guys, yes, we know about that too. So nobody bet you come out of jail to go and kill anybody. Don't let that happen, right? Stop it. But who are these individuals now that controls the division of personnel? And who is really the governor of this territory? If you ask yourself those questions. See, the fact remains that the past is still a regime of the present. But I want to warn them. Malta. William Irby is still somebody who is out there. He was the president and owner of a company by the name of Aquin in the US Virgin Islands. And through the company Aquin, and you're going to hear me say this, individuals work out formulas for this company to make an immense amount of money, but don't pay anything to this territory. The company sued the US Virgin Islands for some 20 plus million. And out of that 20 million, our esteemed governor says he's not wasting his time with that, or he's wasting his time with a company because, governor, and I say you're the governor and I will uphold and respect the office you hold. You are the governor of the US Virgin Islands. But you are also a consultant and the person who prepared the documents for this very company to have the EDC benefits. So how today you say you're not going to waste your time and challenge the case when they sue the VI government? You know what it took, or what it took? The government of the Virgin Islands, by way of not responding, by default, this is the way we were, by default, and I said, no way. That company owes the Virgin Islands government over $500 million. Wow. While they're suing the VI government for 20. Over 500. And I asked who are the players behind the scene that handle this whole formula. That $500 million that belongs to you, not to me. It belongs to the people of this territory, that you have people in this territory who work for that company, still working for that company. How does that work? One of the things I've said, Ms. Moorhead, time and time again, I've said to them, if there's something that I've said that's not true, sue me. But I wait in, because none will come. Because that one suit opens many other doors. We got to take our country back. We got to go back to the days that I could remember CETA Youth Commission. I had something to do as a young man working in the school during the summer. There's things that motivated us to move forward. There were people in the neighborhoods where programs through park and recreation existed with a basketball team or whatever, had somebody in the neighborhood who was really working with the young men and women in something. And then those buildings that you see within the housing community, which are offices and centers, they were open, there were things going on. There was PAL, there was 4-H, and there's so many things that we have forgotten that our children are now the diamonds of tomorrow. We can bring them back. I've seen what I've seen in documents. I've seen what I've seen in banks, and I've seen what I've seen in the cemeteries. So many of our seniors are dying for basic needs medically. Today you go to the hospital and anesthesia don't exist in some instances, but they say everything is okay. Then you look at what's happening in our senior citizens' home and you hear funding is coming for all sort of things during the election year. How many election years we've had in reach yet? And just continues to pour in, and we accept the same thing. So I'm working along with my federal partners and some of the things that we sat down and discussed. And I won't go deep into it because I've found every time I speak, you hear that they're doing something concerning something I say, but the wound is 9 foot long and they put a Band-Aid on it that's less than a 1/4 inch. So gangrene sets in on other extremities. Myself, along with my team, and what we have put in place, and I'm gonna say here straight and clear, the rum cover over was handled by my team. It required our delegate to sign on it. It required the senator that moved it forward in the House to move it forward, right? But at the same time, no Democrats supported it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have all the Democrats in the territory saying that they are the ones that got it passed. I want to ask people clean in mind and think clearly. If I'm a Democrat and I was able to convince Republicans
Mm-hmm.
to support something on my side as a Democrat, how come or why you weren't able to do the same thing with your side being the Democrat?
Mm.
Stop doing that to our people. Stop it. You failed. You failed. So why are we honoring individuals for it and many praising themselves unanimously through lobbying? And this wasn't a Democrat or Republican move, you know. This was skill at its best to lobby. That's what our delegate, or that's what the responsibility of the delegate is. We have 4 lobbyists right now that we're paying. 4. A lot of people know that we elect 1, but we have 4 lobbyists in this territory. How did we get that we're paying so many extremities, right? The governor has 3, and our delegate is 1. How did we get there? How? But we turned a blind eye to many things, and they would say, oh, well, I got this per capita. How many people in the SNAP program per capita? How many persons on WIC per capita? How many people in Section 8 per capita? Data. Remember the word data. Per capita. That's how the Virgin Islands is subsidized. Don't get me wrong. If we have X amount of people documented under a program, and there's a certain amount of funds allocated for this program, per capita, per application, per participation, that's how we fund it. Don't get wrong. We don't go out there and say, well, we need 500 million because of it comes with data. It comes to that. It just don't happen that way. So I want people to stop bringing false information to the people of this territory. Explain what it is for the position that we hold and how we move forward. So when they brought the doctors here to build the hospitals, many said, oh, better say you're bringing these floating hospitals and bringing this, whatever have you. At the time when I brought the investors here, I was a senator. I cannot negotiate. No senator can negotiate with any business. It's the executive branch.
Mm-hmm.
The senators ratify. That's what you do. If there's an issue that requires certain measures, then the Senate get together, what have you. But the contract of any business in this territory is handled by the executive branch. So many say, oh, Bender brought these people and nothing happened. Well, let me tell you why it didn't happen. When Dr. Corey Hebert came to the territory with funds from Tyler Perry, Denzel Washington, of course, many don't like the name Oprah Winfrey anymore, with other investors behind the scene, to provide funding for the hospitals, 3. And these hospitals would have been second to none. Have everything just like the other one have, and then some and more. And while we sat with the veterans who will go to Puerto Rico, we worked out a formula where through the Cleveland Mayo and Emory Clinic would have been partners in these hospitals, how things would go. You know what our government said to the doctors? And some of the senators, you know what they said? Because I make sure they sat and spoke with senators, and they sat and spoke with the governor. The meeting with the governor was 15 minutes. 15 minutes. The meeting with the senators was some were convinced that we had a lot of money, we didn't need it. Discarded these doctors. So, well, we have a lot of money, and the funds they were talking about were the CDBGDR funding. Remember the word? CDBGDR funding. They have a lot of money. So we don't need that. So we dispelled doctors, but turned to the same doctors because you had an ailment in your family and asked for their services for your family. The doctors didn't say no. They arranged for them and their family members to go to the best in the United States, but they got it. What about everybody else who needs it? 2019, 20, 21, 22, I'm still counting. Where is our hospital facility? And these would have been built at no cost to the government of the Virgin Islands. Just the buy-in of our Department of Health and hospital, because when you build in a hospital, you have to have your DEA certification because you're moving drugs. That's how it was required. The board of the hospital would have then become the operators. And how it was structured is the entity that bought it would send those who wants to get into the medical field as medical clinician. They would have sent our children by creating a curriculum at UVI. I don't mind this curriculum at UVI you see going on, that there are other members who were past government officials on the board that were just a high Jeffrey Epstein saga with little girls, right? John DeYoung is what I'm talking about. So when we look at what has happened over the years, it would have sent our young men and women who wanted to get into the medical field as medical clinician up to a certain point, and if they wanted a further education, and this is free now, there's no cost to the parents, no cost to the government, then they would go on to LSU, Louisiana State University, for this to become the specialists at no cost. The way it was arranged through the public-private partnership,
In the office.
when we got to 20 years, because those who would have gone as 5 years, 10 years, they come back, they become the operators. By the time we get to 20 years, the entire thing is turned over to the government of the Virgin Islands at no cost. And our government said no.
Right.
When it came to the hotels, because it was a land-based hotel, then there was a floating hotel, and of course the floating hospital, right? The segment. When it came to the hotel, when you have certain people who control the hotel industry in this territory, that realize that if anything else come this way, it's a competition for them another way. Not looking at what you call sport tourism. Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguar wanted to take over the ballpark and do a hydraulic stadium where the floor changed from football to soccer to baseball or whatever have you. He said no. Shad Khan would not have brought his team to the Virgin Islands if there wasn't proper medical care. His team players are his business. The closest place that they'll be flown to is Florida, not even Puerto Rico, but we would have had the right state-of-the-art facility here. Sport tourism, right, would have been one fraction. Medical tourism would have been another thing. And Ms. Ward, as you know, the government don't make money. It is the private sector that brings in the funds.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't diversify your economy to grow your private sector, then if you can't reach your economy, you can't grow it if you don't have the diasporas of division from the government sector to the private sector. So while we look at what's coming in the government and figure we made money, no, the private sector made those funds. They paid their gross receipt and whatever have you. The federal corporate income tax was at 21%. Our government have loans using the federal corporate taxes at 21%. It has now been reduced to 15%. We're going to make up the difference to pay their loans. The local government, in its own wisdom, forgot to pay attention to the warning, again, from the Government Accountability Office, that they don't do certain things, that these federal cuts would have taken place. Going back to 2019, I'm trying to educate. They said this would never happen. They said that. But it's here today that there is federal cuts. I said to the people of the territory that if we don't begin to mold our home by making sure individuals who have been left on the side and not push them forward. You know what it is when people are on the ground on their knees? I mean, I've seen a lot of them that went to school with me, but fell short, but just needed that little help. And because of other things, we just leave them on the side. Just a little help, but they needed. We left them there. So, oh, they're big man and woman, they should know better. True. Some of us fall on the wayside sometimes, and sometimes we need that little hand up. But you know what we've done? The other agencies, we push them down and suppress them the best we can. No hand up. And now here comes we call our angel ages of our seniors. Where today we've seen it, what's happening to our seniors, they train so hard. How many cries we've heard, and if we had moved through the ARPA funds and fund these homes, $100,000, you know what they could have done for household? And through that, because we program funds by mere discretion of how we articulate document to justify. Now the government of Virginia have to justify the over $300+ million they spent and fixing roads that we're going back to fix over again. And while they say they got approval here and approval there, a lot of it wasn't where it's supposed to be. Now we can't justify it, right? Because we didn't do a proper audit of it. And we can't justify it because a lot of the companies that we gave contracts to didn't even have the proper paperwork in order for the RFPs and so forth to be in place. Right now, a lot of the homes that they're building, these contractors, they're now trying to catch up with work they've done before with documents that they said they didn't need. 2019. Many people still waiting for the homes where through FEMA. With all the lumber we saw at Sunshine and the Lima property in St. Thomas, why these things are sitting there. The VI government authorized the contractors to go ahead and buy these things without FEMA approval. VI government. When FEMA asks the question, where are the documents and approval for this to take place? Our government continued to tell people, go in these lines, fill out these documents, when they knew there was a case going on with FEMA when it came to the contractors that they authorized to purchase the material, and that's why none of the material moved the way it's supposed to. But no, we had people, big men and women go there, and rightfully so trying to do what's right for the family and didn't even realize that they were playing them for fools. Our elected officials do that to people who elect them to serve them when they knew better, when they knew that the people that they did that to were badly in need. So what came after that? A massive exodus of people out of the territory. Then our government decided with the exodus mean people leaving because they can't get work, they don't have a roof over their head. They pick up the family in the Georgie bundle and go to another place to get the means that they need to survive. And I want the government, before this happened, as a governor, senators, through the ARPA fund, even through the CARES Act funds, with $500 million, the ARPA funds with 540. So to these funds, we need to maintain our population status. I don't think they understood what I meant. Because your population is how you get funded based on. That's right. That's how you get funded. And if you don't have those numbers, you lose. In your education, each child have a number as far as what the government subsidize each child for in every schools. You notice that come September, they're rushing them to bring them to school, and then after that, they don't worry. They wait until January when the next period start again, where they have to submit documents on how many children you have in the school, and that's where they make money on your child. It's not about the education. And Ms. Mohed, you said it time and time again, the smarter balance is a clear indicator that our children, when they graduate from, we call it high school, are the equivalent of a 9 or 10 grader and have to do the remedial courses at the universities. We do it all the time. But when you look at who's sitting on the podium and the stage and applauding the success, don't get me wrong, it's a momentous occasion for our children and the parents, and they feel great. But when you look at what the child has to go through in order to get into a university, and all that was available to them that wasn't really distributed like it should have been, it tells another story in many ways. How serious are we? How much do we really, really care? We watch the stage, and we look at every child that walks by and shake the hands of whom and say congratulations. Really? Really? Congratulations and a job well done. Really? That's what we said to our children. Now here comes the issue with those children who now are trying to get into a university or whatever have you, and they go through the hardship. And it has a FAFSA that our government talk about free education, but when they get there, they have to fill out the FAFSA application. Why? If it's free, why you fill out the FAFSA? All that's going to happen is that you're going into a federal program. And they fool the parents. Again, you fool parents and the children, but in order for you to get in, you got to fill out the FAFSA. First you do that, you're applying for a loan. And it's gone. But we do that to our own, over and over. And who's speaking these things? They're going to say because it benefits some, right? It benefits some. When we look at the president of the UVI and we see what they're making, plus housing allowance and all the other stuff that goes with it, but what is it that we're doing for our own children? we have stymied our growth intentionally. We create documents to draw down on federal funds, but not documents to pull up our children and our community. Tomorrow, Ms. Moorhead, and my tomorrow is the one that some people say we wait to see. The Virgin Islands itself, with now the release that over 75 countries now have been removed from the visa program, or those that have visas will not be allowed to enter the United States. And that came out recently with Marco Rubio. Now, we take affirmative steps. And a lot of our people were, some of them of whom our territory, who enslaving people. Let me explain the enslaving side of it. There are people who are here working on several programs in this government that's been handled by an entity. And the entity of which they're working for or through, that individual or those individuals' salaries are paid to this entity. This entity pays them. These individuals who work hard using their skill set now have to pay the entity a percentage for them to work. Me talking about a contractor. I'm talking about what our government went to St. Kitts and says we could bring 7,000 people into the U.S. Virgin Islands to work. Those who went to the Dominican Republic, those guys know who we're talking about. And they work with a body of people to bring people here to work. And those people went to Africa and work in the same formula and some of the other islands. How ridiculous can you be to think that that wouldn't be something that would be seen? So the company in the other island is paid, then they pay the individuals a minimum wage pretty much based on what they're charging. Wow. That's slavery. The same thing happened with the doctors of Cuba, right? That the company by the name of Gayasa, which is a Chinese company, working with the Caribbean islands, great skills, great doctors, don't get me wrong, teachers and so forth. But through Gayasa, the country pay them, and what happens is Gayasa pays them the remittance. However, Gayasa, the company of which the countries are paying, is a company which is a Chinese company using funds out of the diaspora of the Caribbean to build weapons in a plan to fight the United States. So I want our people to open their minds, forget the messenger in a sense, but pay attention to what's around us. And I've been at this for several years. And at first, I would say to myself, this is inconceivable to believe that this can be happening until I'm on the ground in it. Until I'm on the ground. Until I can see for myself. Until I can become more aware, not by what people are presenting, but for what my investigation leads me to see for myself. I would say, no, this can't be nobody in the right mind, upstanding. You look at it and you start to say, there's no way this can happen. And then you see it in black and white. You see them going into the bank. You see them sitting with these people and making the deals. You listen to the conversation. I'm not just talking about Bonitos alone, the David Whitaker thing, There's many more of our government officials making deals. Many more. And I said to some of them already, get out of government. They don't understand that this is serious because it's being said. I've said it before for those before the arrest began, get out. I warned Ray Martinez because the poor young man didn't realize the investigation was against him when I warned him for what he's saying, that they wrote a script for him to speak on. The investigation is on him and what some of the others. When the whole thing, as you know, there's still devices being found in some of the government agencies, right? And those devices, who plant them there? I am speaking this way because it affects us. Every discrepancy that is discovered creates issue for us as a government to be subsidized because the paperwork is much more. The trust is at another level that we have to prove more. And it just keeps escalating and it delays the process of redevelopment. So with all of the corruption, the Office of ODR was created and Office of Disaster Recovery was created. And as such, everything that was done under the MAP administration based on with O'Brien and going to your home and checking your home if it's damaged and the business and the government entities and submit a report, you call it the public worksheets to see what it is we're talking about. Where the preliminary, as far as what we got was 8 billion, with the understanding that further evaluation has to be done. Because we stopped the process and because of so much underhanded thing taking place, we had to do them all over again.
And, yep.
Every single thing all over. So what we look at, we're in the ninth year, pretty much in a sense, since Irma Maria and keep going. This is because of the paperwork of which Whit O'Brien had to do 4 or 5 times over again, missing deadlines because we think we're the biggest gangster on the block in a sense as the island, that we don't have to move in time and sync with the federal government. We could say, okay, don't do this until a certain time because it looks like the other administration is still in power. So we stop a lot of the progress just to be able to put a white hat on your head, pick up a shovel where Baco put dirt on the ground, and you stick the shovel in it and say, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to do them over again. And as such, to realize the other formulas that were created with the underhandedness with the contracts, ODR, and everything that they're trying to get done in moving programs, it is very, the stipulation of what's required is overwhelming. No hospital yet. So they're working in schools. And we look at the other neighboring islands where they're at, and why aren't we there yet? Where you're subsidized with all these federal funds. We move from 10% match to 2% for X amount of time. It's not going to move like they said it's going to move. Things said they would be completed before the end of the administration. Ladies and gentlemen, forget that. Our governor is not trusted, period. Governor is calling and the president of the United States to look at tariff with Tortola. I kind of, my eyebrow get hard when I see stuff like that because am I missing the boat? The president of the United States is supposed to go to jail, like you say. Which correspondence you going to send to the president of the United States when you're a part of the arena that says he's going to jail? You were libated under the influence of libation with words. This is rum, libation with words. And he just spoke lucidly because it felt good. Today, all of a sudden, you write a letter to the president of the United States who have you in his craw. He ain't going no place. And candidly, he has you in his craw.
Mm-hmm.
Or delegate to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Send out a press release and talks about how much money that she alone working on to get for the territory. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't work like that. Okay? You can't even vote on it. Right? It doesn't work like that. It requires a lot of data we don't have. It requires support by others to vote on it on our accord. When we have Winston Armstrong, we have Ms. Helenese,
Mm-hmm.
we have the delegate of Congress, and then we have this new company that they negotiated to work and lobby on behalf. It's supposed to be a Republican team under Kevin Calwood, I think the person is, who brought this team into work. 4 lobbyists. 4? How much money we talking about spending for that? And they've glorified themselves to make it seem like a movement, and not one. No, the governor of the Virgin Islands has an in to sit with the president of the United States. Nor would he entertain a meeting with him. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Our delegate can't negotiate with anyone to have a meeting with anyone. But I assert myself to say to the people of this territory, throughout the year here, you will see several of the Secretary of States visiting the Virgin Islands. And here's what I started off with in thanking the men and women of our armed services. When the Navy ship, the Iwo Jima, came into the territory, and myself explaining what would follow from the military armada being on the South Shore, that it will make landfall eventually. The complaint was this plane flying over people's house all night long. That would have been a complaint when they brought Amazon here too, right? And they said, we don't need Amazon here because all night long plane will be flying over people's house, and that if Amazon comes here, then what's going to happen to the supermarkets or the store that you go into? No matter how I try to explain how it works, Amazon would not have a store that you can walk in and pick up stuff off the shelf. You have to order just the same. It'll be sent to you by the couriers or that they have, but there's no shop to go into. This would have been a hub, and Damien Cartwright, who worked for the Port Authority at that time, we went and we identified a segment of land where the warehouse was going to be built. And Amazon warehouses are not small. And the stretch of land right across in Paradise, where a new taxiway would have built on the other side, so those aircrafts go on that side.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5,000 people working in Amazon or more. But what it brings the other agencies as far as products, warehousing, their product close to hubs. We couldn't understand that. This government chased them out of here so fast, right? I couldn't conceive in my mind how something of this magnitude, where you have other people who have their own interests, decided that they had the control to say, we don't want this on the island of St. Croix, so we chased that away. But what they failed to realize, where there's a hub, there are the other manufacturers who will bring manufacturing companies close to hubs. They'll have the storage as well, but they start to manufacture close to hubs, so things happen. We were looking at if all had gone well over 40 to 45,000 people being employed in this territory, just under that fabric. But here you have the direct, but in business you have the indirect as well, right? The direct would be Amazon. The indirect would be the supermarkets, the people who have homes to rent, the services that all come with people paying for the commodities, the restaurants and all of this stuff. That's how the government makes money, because people spend and government collects on a grocery receipt. They couldn't see that. Well, let me explain. In the Dominican Republic, because when I sit with these individuals and they ask me, are your people incompetent? I mean, I feel a way. I said, under no circumstances it is so. Well, then, if you say so, then what are we seeing then? If they don't understand micro and macroeconomics, right? If you can't reach an economy, you can't grow an economy. So I'm sitting there and I'm saying, well, that's not what it is. So, well, and when you find the formula to explain to us, when it comes to economics, that your people just don't understand business, then bring the answer to us. I haven't gone back to them yet because I can't bring the answer.
It's selfishness.
Selfishness. And you know what was a big movement for that? If I do this, what am I going to get?
Evil.
I said, well, what you said? They approached these guys, and I tell you, I was so infuriated. And this is the same thing we did with the doctors. Okay, if you do this, what are we going to get? Why is it that we think because you sit in an elected position and you're already getting paid, or you sit in the government services for a position you've been hired to, and you're already getting paid, that the businesses that come to this territory, that they're entitled to pay you privately?
But they always want more.
And the more they ask for, they think that these things are not documented. So Amazon picks up. They were going to Puerto Rico. I tried to fight a lobby for them to reconsider. Then hell break loose. Then you have Venezuela with the Dominican Republic. The United States moving now, taking homage and claim. At the same time, labor is inexpensive. So the pool as far as employment in the Dominican Republic has now gone to another level for business that should have come to the Virgin Islands. There's a discussion about the refinery. And I'll bring some more on that later, because there's a Benta again. So let me leave that. So, Ms. Moorhead, I say to the people of this territory, even though things look grim, but some don't see the grimness yet, there is a way out. There is a solution. And there's prudent people and prudency that exists that will enable us to carry over to the next level with our ability. And thank God there are people who understands. I had to go through a vetting process. So let me tell you this vetting process. I want to thank all those people whom the agencies approach in a smart way. Do you know Benta? Tell us about Benta. Oh, he's a son of a so-and-so and so. Oh, okay. Why is he a son of a so-and-so? Because all he thinks about is putting people in jail. Ms. Moorhead, if I am putting you in jail, then I should be arrested. Then the question is, are you putting yourself in jail? Because I wasn't there when you thieved the money. I wasn't there when you make and lobby the contractors to give you money. But at the same time, because if I know that you are doing what you're doing, I am the person who's the SOB, they say. I accepted the name. The private sector. A lot of them, as we spend time with a lot of them, right? And a lot of them have voiced their concerns for the underhanded tactics that exist and what they've been doing to them as business. You know, some businesses have rental agencies, local owners, local. They already paid all they had to, the grocery receipts and everything they had to pay in the vehicles they bring in to do the business. But in order for them to do business on the other island, they have to pay it over again. Since when the government of the Virgin became the federal government? It's one Virgin Island, right?
Mhm.
But you want to charge these people again because you have your friends who you have lacking to certain places, and the friends that they have or the business partners they have says keep Tom Jones out. Local business owners, and they are telling them you can't come. But again, news coming their way soon, and the guys know who you're talking about. You did this to your own people. Our solar farms, Ms. Moorhead. Our government allowed during the so-called state of emergency that the government of the Virgin Islands proclaimed only for the territory to create a company by the name of VI Electron. And that $2 million, as far as what they said is missing, went to Japan. And the people who, in WAPA itself, who transferred the money to Japan and they talk all this nonsense, went to Japan eventually on a honeymoon kind of thing. And of course, that will tell a story by itself soon. The VI Electron, in 2023, a board meeting was created that allowed to a vote by a member of the board to allow for VI Electron to be the company to come in to provide what you call solar battery and other things, whatever have you, for storage to sell back to the government. VI Electron, for money from the VI government, with a match proclaimed that came from the VI government, became the company to provide the documents. And through that company, they became, and I try to educate some senators on that. So you got to show me the documents. I got to show so much things. You got to show me where this is. So VI Electron became that company before anybody understood the name VI Electron. Became that company who now were the ones who build the solar farms. But here where the scam comes in. They're saying now, because VI Electron is a VI company owned by VI people, okay?
Mhm.
Right? The trick now is we need to make as much money as we can. And how do we now retain 100% of our funds? Right? To the creator what? A 501c3 or 4, and through what you call a non-profit organization managed by a company that has its EIN and all that's required, that all of the funds that WAPA will pay to the non-profit organization for free power, but funding from the federal government that came from your money appropriated to you in this territory, now gone to a 501, a non-profit organization. Who are the people of the non-profit organizations that are now the steering wheel behind this? Present government officials, past government officials, and who agreeing with it? Our legislature. You see, what should have been done is, since WAPA created it, and you want to move it someplace, you move it back where? To WAPA. Not to a 501. 501 is private. When you come through federal funding, you go into a private and sneak into a back door of a company with 1%. There was a point where the VI government members of WAPA, through other fueling companies, because they still things come in, on the federal companies, that they had a broker. And energy emitted agencies, that's 24 hours a day, they have opportunities to buy fuel at bulk or rack rate, right? Not retail. The VI government by law does not pay taxes on fuel. When the VI government vehicles drive up to a gas station with the coupons to fill up the gas, there's taxes included in that.
Mm-hmm.
Rack rate on the market is $2.30 something cents a gallon. Bulk rate is $1.75 or lower if you have a good broker. So if we buy fuel at retail, which how we buy fuel retail, WAPA, they pay for the fuel just like if you drive up the gas pump, okay? Retail. But if we don't pay taxes on the fuel, but you're buying fuel at retail on the market, who's collecting the difference? So the thing that became ingenious by saying, okay, we could walk it through the solar farm with it about 10 cents a kilowatt hour and all this other stuff, whatever have you, and think that we're naive. We're taking it back. I want the people of this territory to pay close attention because, I mean, I get pulled here and I get pulled there, and thank God that I'm aware, and thank God I have a team that is second to none. And they don't have the family here. They don't have any family. I mean, I'm the only person in this diaspora that's a part of this team. And Ms. Moorhead, not only a part of the team, but manage this team. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful again for all who were there to guide me and be that beacon for me to have my head on and be able to soar. But in doing so, I also have to look out for my home. And there's no trade-off better for me than to be able to have the communication that they can have. While they're speaking about what they may plan to do, I can say that if this is here now, it's going to be done now. The only difference is today is because everybody still don't really understand what's happening until you really get there. We're at DEFCON 3. And let me explain DEFCON 3. In the war room, there's 5 DEFCONs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're at DEFCON 3. It means that there have been engagements, that America has fired, or the Air Force of the United States has fired missiles or shots have been fired. Clearly, we've seen that. And so, what do you mean by that? This whole diaspora, beside the Iwo Jima going now into the other side of the world, is going to remain a high vigilancy of the U.S. Department of War as far as the Armada. The VI government to date, has not been included in any roundtable, has not been included in any roundtable of any discussion concerning what's happening within our own territory where there's an office in St. Croix of DW and DOD. I've not been there. Don't even know what the walls look like inside the building. What does that say about our community as far as not even our delegate can go in there, nor have they ever spoken on it? Which one of them has spoken on what's going on and why they're here? The only person who have that language is me. The only person who can make a decision to a certain degree, and I am putting myself in the executive branch position because I will never do that. I'm Simple Simon, I'm Joe Blow for the moment. But decision that impacts us, we're explaining that it is okay for shore visit to be done by members of the armed service in the U.S. Virgin Islands. As you know, many years ago, that had stopped. Mm-hmm. But for the audience of which I started in explaining, for them to concede us, okay, we're going to try it. It was a trial to see, because what had happened in the past is one that stays on the books. But today, that has changed. And I want to thank every citizen that said hello to every soldier, or became a grandparent or a parent to every soldier who came off of those ships, because they're children, really. They're children, really. And they're placed in harm's way in such a way that many parents today, it is a sacrifice for many parents while their children are going through what they're going through. But this community embraced them. And I want to thank all those taxi drivers, because we saw that even when some of these were told not to get drunk, but some of them, of course, they got a little excited. but the people was immaculate in working with these young men and women to make sure. We saw footage because everything was being recorded. I tell you, everything was being recorded, and how our people work with them. We saw some of them going down in certain areas, and we saw individuals in the corner who sits in the corner, hey, calling them back. My heart was full. My heart was really full. And they called him back. Of course, their awareness went up because you know where they are, you know what it is. But no, these individuals said, no, you come this way, right? And the drunk, as we call them, skunks, in some instances, you didn't have a whole bunch of shore patrol. We used to say shore patrol up and down the place, but you have people on the ground now. You had a significant amount of federal agents on the ground. I want to thank the men and women in blue. I want to thank the private organization of the veterans and the retirees, Gruff, members who are out there as well doing their stuff, making sure, because a lot of them are retired veterans as well, to make sure that they had a good time. Pound for pound, based on rating, they want to stay in the VI because where they were going to go and stay was in Roosevelt Roads. We weren't too far out of the area, but we were able to get them here. I think the thing that became questionable is when the ship went into St. Thomas, and young as they are, the young men and women of the airport authority was talking of them paying for berthing fees. You know, federal vehicles don't pay no road tax, they don't pay insurance. But I don't think this was understood and became questionable. And of course, it's not embarrassing, but it was something that where the civics of our own should be something that we teach our own to a certain degree to understand the different branches of government and what is expected and so forth, especially when you're in those positions. Right? So what is the beautiful message going forward that we can accomplish? Now we have the attention to show that we are people of good standing. Now we have the attention that what was once a mystery for us, we were like vagabonds and we just didn't care for certain things, that the men and women who came out of those ships also become part of selling our product. And what is recorded when they went back, oh, they want to stay in this region. Why would we not want them to stay in this region? And why are some of us are saying they need to get out of here? If anyone in the territory understand, like the likes of Trinidad, with his rocket launchers or interceptors placed all over the island, the United States Marine will be building a Marine base for training for Marines in Trinidad. The Southern Command that was in Vieques, we don't want the underwater range, but the things that we could have done to bring part of that here. What sort of revenue does that bring? Some people, oh, you look bad in the VI and people ain't want to come. I beg to differ. The hotels in the Virgin Islands don't have room right now. Jamaica has been impacted by the hurricane, but as people come in this area, more so that the Caribbean is shut down, Ms. Mohead, do you think the VI ready for that influx of people coming this way? Because it's not just down there, you know, it's Jamaica. Cuba will soon go through what they're going through. I can't get into that right now. But every country in the other side coming back up this way, the majority of the air carriers into these countries are from the United States. A few days ago, no N-registered aircraft was coming into the Virgin Islands. Not that the airport was closed, right? There was no N-registered aircraft coming to the area. And I can speak on this a little bit without divulging too much. It was a test of preparedness. If anything was to come across our atmosphere, anything flying up there that's not supposed to, is clear engagement, clear rules of engagement, right? So we kept the American carriers from coming into the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, the other Caribbean islands had British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, but they had to make such a circle. They couldn't fly over the Virgin Islands. This is a route, it's a traffic way. Couldn't fly over the Virgin Islands. That to go way around. It showed that we are, in fact, prepared. What do we do with our new era as far as individual learning about technology? Making them the new individuals to safeguard this territory more than anything else today. And if all fails, then we all fail. And that's not going to happen. And I know that more than anything, Ms. Moorhead, one of the questions is, who in the government is going to go to jail? Who is next to be arrested? And what to expect? I just want to take a time just to thank the men and women of the jury who show that we have intellect and we have character, that we are responsible people. The verdicts which were delivered by Virgin Islanders jurors.
Mm-hmm.
It took meticulous thinking. Everybody knew everybody. There was a segment in court where the judge asked a question, who all know about the case, and everybody had to raise their hand.
Yeah.
However, knowing the individuals, but listening to what's being presented and how it was manufactured and the depth of the conspiracy. You know this from all the lumber, the school and so forth, with that case ain't called yet, right?
Yeah.
Not pretty. Not pretty. To the point where you have people jumping off them or coming over and accept, oh, when they realize, wait, no. Let me come clean. They were going to fight. There's over 60 indictments before. But indictment doesn't mean that you go before the judge and you're charged. You are confronted and explained to you, well, this is what we have. Probably is under duress or pressure. What say ye? And they're given time. And with time, they begin to come forward to validate what transpired, who were part of it, how it was culminated, and who was the brainchild. Who's the brainchild, really? It definitely isn't Shalimar. It definitely ain't his wife. It definitely ain't his Richardson. And it definitely ain't OMB and any of those guys. In governments, in leadership, it is tend, unless there's murder, to allow for an individual in the position to finish a term and then act. Running off island to try to shut down accounts and try to move money and changing it from cash to bricks is too late. You know, bricks is the way to hide money, right? Because it's not traceable. But there's other footprint being placed on that. But once you move cash through the system, I don't care how smart you think you are. Whether you go to an offshore bank, the way things have been put in place for those entities that's receiving now today is why you see all of those accounts of all of the ministers of the Caribbean now and the shuffling. We see a lot of even local senators, even state senators, and U.S. government officials are now facing the music because their names are popping up with Maduro and everything and what they did. It's inconceivable to think that I don't think our Virgin Islands will think or even understand what war is. And being in places, Ms. Moorhead, it will make, that I've seen, it will make a billy goat puke. We did a walk by the route of the 8 million people that walked from Venezuela as they came up the channel trying to get to Mexico and so forth. And I think in that walk, which I did, as you can see, I lost a lot of weight, right? The walk I did with many others, I think the hardest part for me was to see a corpse of a woman and saw that she was giving birth and just the head of the child, well, the baby's body, but she's skeleton at the time, protruding. And just imagine for 8 million people, and we're like 80-something thousand, merging in a convoy where danger exists, where pillaging and robbery and rape along the way, death along the way, piracy and so forth took place, but these people took that walk.
Yeah.
And then you hear people speaking about America being bullied and what they did on that side, but not looking at the amount of people who migrated or attempted to migrate for safety, for themselves. In that walk, there were hundreds of thousands of Iranian spies. And they had Venezuelan names.
Mm.
Dead people, people who had killed, the government assisted in killing and changing IDs. Through the Caribbean, with the Chinese and China who does not allow for dual citizenship of their citizens. China does not allow for you to have another citizenship. But China is a company who is doing the due diligence for the application for the citizenship of St. Kitts, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada.
Wow.
How is that? And when it's measured as far as who these people are that the Caribbeanites were given citizenship were, America realized we're in a bad place. Really bad. They're bomb technicians. They're scientists specialized in chemical warfare out of Iran. Remember what's the little fellow name in North Korea and all that he's doing, and those missiles tests, he shoot them straight up in the air to see how high it goes. They're measuring distance. They won't shoot straight across because they come really obvious, but they shoot it straight up for distance. And the propellant of the missile upward is much more than going straight across, right? They have the inertia. And they're measuring how they could launch one that will get someplace. So you have all of these people that came to the Caribbean, where the ministers themselves play blind to what's taking place. And now that it's realized, America is now sending just about every single refugee. And you hear the minister saying, well, we don't want nobody from this country, or we don't want rapists, pedophiles, and so they can say what they want. Whoever's on the plane, that's your business. Because when you were sending them into the United States, by providing them with false documents, you didn't care about the safety or the sovereignty of the West. So you have a prime minister who got there, like I said, that he praised certain people who become the protector of the West. They started meetings, and I'm educating our people the best I can, because things are going to be happening really fast. Our government officials can't get there yet. There are people or ministers who pledged their defense forces that if any foreign or domestic arms is raised against Venezuela, that they will merge their defense force to defend him. That's why the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago took a stand as a woman. And she took a stand because she realizes I ain't crazy and I am not stupid to go up against this force, which was a joke at first. I thought it was one of those things, was going to just be a show. And ministers who decides, and one spoke fluently as far as things and what they will do. Now they're begging for something different today. What are we going to beg for, Ms. Moorhead? Because our names are mentioned in a lot of those documents for them too. What are we going to say? You know, I can only say what I've been able to push forward with. I can only say that if many things are not cleared with us, that we become not only a participant, but an influencer of the process. Because through Barbados, and I got to be very careful of how I put this, through Barbados with a tariff, and we're outside of the Jones Act, and we hear that we need to come out of the Jones Act. If you go back to 1920 with the Jones Act, we're outside of it. It enabled us to have the refinery that we had for so many years. It enabled us to do different things that Puerto Rico can do in a state of emergency, that they will require certain permission that they'd have to get. So the benefit of some things that we have, we just need to derive our own constitution. That's it. That's it. And within our constitution, I think the 5th delegation did a fantastic job. And I think the documents that were presented were so overwhelming and just needed to be finished. And we didn't do that. The Civil Rights Act Commission, which our guys are not speaking about, the Civil Rights Act Commission is moving forward with our Constitution with the Virgin Islands. Congress is going to listen to the Federal Civil Rights Act Commission. We have a 6th delegation. And the 6th delegation, I think more than anything, I should have been harnessing those who have been in the 5th more so. And they themselves should make sure they push for the 5th side of it, stick with it and move it. Asleep at the wheel. We are caught in a catch-29 because of ego. Ego is a messenger again because I don't like what this person and me like this person. Ain't about liking, you know. We don't have a constitution. And without a constitution, we become and remain subject of the Department of Interior to our next height or next level. What is the Department of Interior doing? Anybody knows? You don't hear them speaking about the Interior Department working with the Civil Rights Act Commission and our Constitution. I know a lot of people have never heard that. I applaud individuals that ran for the office, and I know a lot of them. And they're going to sweat and do what they have to, I would think. But it will be for North, really, because whatever the Civil Rights Act Commission provides to the Department of Interior, to Congress, is what's going to be worked on. But they're taking too long to act. Sometimes they're moving too slow, while other sides are taking care of doing what they think is in our best interest, not what we think is in our best interest. And as we noticed, Ms. Pamela Colon, when she spoke, and they have to conduct briefings every so often, it's just about a handful of people going through those briefings to see what's being said in the documents. Now, there's some other Virgin Islanders who they have inducted into these discussions, but it's not who you elect to actually administer. There's some who were elected before from the fifth who are working along with them, but not those that are there right now per se in the formulation of what we want to see in it the right way.
And you still have the ones, remember, who try to stop them from being a fifth document, who are still acting to try to stop what's going on with the sixth.
And how far are we going to go, Ms. Moorhead, as far as Virgin Island? It takes strong dedication, Mama. And I know more than anything, and I speak about myself because I didn't just get there because I walked there. You know? From the time I was a child, from the neighborhood, I couldn't hang in the corners. I mean, I would get cuffed from the older guys. What are you doing here? Go there. No, my brother could say he's younger than me, but I couldn't stay. Right? I had to leave. And on the weekend, I was a young man who had joined what they call the police pew cadet, a little group of been in Frederiksted on Sundays. And the same guys, but on motorcycle or bicycle, and I walk in, they put me on the bike, so you come. I couldn't stay on the turf, I couldn't hang on the block. I couldn't understand for the life of me why not. Many who, over years, they've died there by way of violence, gunfight, and whatever have you. But there's some of those who would pick me up and make sure that I was going to these programs. And I want to thank them, and the family know who they are. I want to thank you, Ms. Moorhead, because you're one of my teachers too. But you made sure, I tell you, it wasn't easy. But I think in relevance, going forward, ladies and gentlemen of the Virgin Islands, we're in a position today where we've never been before. We're pretty much under a time of war that you are not feeling at this time. It's a time that we now need to accommodate. Where do we want to go and how do we intend to get there? Our elected officials, primarily, there are a few that are respected and recognized. I want to thank them, right? Keep your head up, keep your bank account clean, keep yourself clean, and focus on doing what you say you're going to do on behalf of the people. But unfortunately, there are a lot who themselves, through backdoor and back channels with these private companies that they've pretty much formulated and hiding through different fractions of doing certain things. It wasn't about making sure that you had a decent life. We have many companies that are here. We have Lonesome Dove that's out there. I spoke and continue to speak about dividends. And we said, what the hell is dividends? I use the same fraction that Alaska used. Pound for pound, based on what we have afforded to us, by a lot of the EDC companies that will take 500 plus million, 400 plus million and send it to a university in the United States, but the benefits in the Virgin Islands. And what they contribute to our young men and women graduated from high school, going to college, sometimes is about 200,000-300,000. But they get away with that.
Those dividends you're talking about with Lonesome Dove that go to PFA, nobody gets no report.
And of course not, because that's the slush fund, right? It ain't really their fund, it's slush fund. I didn't know exactly what they're doing with it. If you go to the bank in New York and see how, even though they said they move it to the GERS, again, I don't think you guys got the rates for the GERS yet, right?
They didn't know. The PFA took it over.
Exactly. And you see what's going on there again, fooling the retirees. Can you imagine, and you can because you're retired as well, that individual of whom you nurtured as well, some individuals who have done so well in this committee and serving based on the discipline as far as employment that they had, to make sure that people like myself had a good way forward. And all of a sudden, we look at them as nobody, right? And today, based on the cost of living, it is not an easy step forward for a lot of them who have retired really early and living very long, with some Sometimes it's less than $100 they're getting based on retirement. And that's okay for some. We could apply these dividends based on gross, and money's going back to a time from Hovensa and those guys, what they were doing under the table. Now, nobody in the Virgin Islands should be working for anybody, really. And you're going to see in Venezuela, a lot of these people ain't working for nobody either. But the only thing that we'll have is health issues because people just get big and fat. They go on what? Because everything is coming a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But we could do that through the dividends based on every industry we have in this territory and abroad, for what that's producing and what we're doing. We could do so well by using the EDC program was supposed to be earmarked for with specificity. And that became something else for others to do what they want, and not people who are in the government. The government account is a private account for certain people that uses it and direct who sits in the position how to spend it. When they move over $200+ million to JP Morgan, Chase Bank, that wasn't done by our local people, Well, it wasn't done by elected officials. It's who said to move this way because they have projects that they needed funded, and they needed to have money in the bank in order for the funding to go to another level. Industries that there's a term, claw back, right? And my intention, if I run for the office, right, is a claw back and make sure that our people get what's due to them. Even though individuals have expired, that the family become the beneficiaries of it. This game that they've been playing with our people because all is mine and none is yours can't work anymore. We got to change that whole concept. We've destroyed the very fabric of the mindset of even people to vote. It says, why am I voting? It doesn't benefit me. And that is where I am so proud of you guys to pushing for the ballot box. Votes counting with a cast and making sure the box is independent and then having to go through the DS200. And I want to thank the Board of Election for doing what they did in removing me from being a Senate. I want to thank them. And really because they don't understand the mind that I have and where it has placed me now in a position that I could do much more for our people, where it has placed me now to research and review and see exactly what it is I was dealing with and what they have done to this territory and protect us from further harm going forward.
Well,
So I don't know if your phone line.
You mentioned something that people don't necessarily understand. They don't realize that we do have an election system, that it isn't necessarily that it selects the winners, but at many times what it does is it selects the losers.
Correct.
In order to be able to continue.
I like that word. Yes, I like that.
Because I tell people, the one thing I have, and I'm 77, that I've seen happening in this territory is that the one thing that keeps going and increasing is the corruption.
Yes.
And I have never known, and you have opened to quite a bit enlightenment today, to explain to people when I say that what I mean, but I just say, I know it is happening, and I stick with education because I see that a big part of it is that our education has, it's gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
And because like you talk about the way that you have been educated, but there's something that has changed in the system that our people are not as analytical as the older ones are. And it's hard for them to understand sometimes the things that are going on. So be patient with them. I want to take this opportunity right now to thank you and your team for what you're doing. And please make sure to keep up the work, but be patient because it's just the lack of understanding, the lack of education that keeps people from, that makes them hit on the messenger instead of dealing with the message.
Some of the things we uncovered in Ms. Moorhead as well is a lot of seniors have individuals who have them sign off on documents. Some have had businesses that some have rekindled, and they go to them, so just sign this, right? And in the course of the investigations, at times, because the principal is the principal of a company, and these are the names, but here's what comes back. With some of the people, they say, well, they don't live. They could serve the rest of the time in jail because they have nothing to give. But I try to put that together, right? This is a senior who I've entrusted their companies for other people to manage on their behalf to do the right thing. But the person is saying, well, they're old. So if they go to jail when they're 70, 80 years old, so what? They don't live.
Yeah.
I now live in mines. The treachery,
Yeah.
the audacity that you have individuals young and prudent,
Yep.
and they're skirting around and playing like they're so
Mm-hmm.
involved,
Yep.
and they care. And when I go through these things and I look at it, I said, I look at the sequence of being a Boy Scout helping the seniors cross the street,
Mm-hmm.
but really they walk them to the middle of the road and then leave them there for the car to knock them down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And when you look at the individual that knows better, and that's why I try to put my mind and wrap my mind around some of the things that I'm seeing, where you have individuals who are esquires, attorneys, individuals who are doctors and so forth, who are part of a lot of this, and they pretend that they really care about, and then you have those who are aloof to facts, that they just go based on what ingredients is put into the soup and drink it, and said, this is the best soup, when you're being poisoned slowly with cyanide or other things that's in it. And at the time that they're drinking it, they become the biggest vocalists on behalf of, and they're the ones themselves dragging the dirty feet on the road because they can't do better for themselves.
Yep.
They got my back. Got your back how? You're hand to mouth in a sense. And they keep you that way because you're going to need that drink, a Crujan or a Heineken, just to say that they give you something. What about your plate of food? And that's it. Oh, they give me something. What they give you? You, as an individual in this territory, as well-rounded, minded citizen in this territory, the time of looking at the big events and the this and the that that goes and brings a moment, but those are the same voices crying about WAPA. The same voices crying about Section 8 and the SNAP program. You know what it is for an individual, and someone says, oh, I have to go to work. True. But we create the storm that they didn't get the skill set to do certain things. You have to go to work. Now the program says, for many, you have to do what you call community service, which is 80 hours a month, or employed for 80 hours a month with a salary. This is going to be a thing that Department of Human Services and Department of Labor should have been working on as far as providing these trainings, preparation. The bill goes into effect this month. What will become of those people? And here's the next thing I've said over and over. If there's only 5 sheets of paper you fill out for the first 6 months, when you go back in 6 months, because this is every 6 months reoccurrence that you got to do it, you're going to have probably about 15 to 20 sheets of documents that you have to prepare. And the year is up and you go back now for the new year, that 15 to 20 becomes 40 to 80 documents. See, they don't understand the dynamics of how this thing is working. It is now to push you off of the system because you were not in the system. Right. Our seniors, in protecting them, I don't care which side of the aisle these people speaking from, the fact remains is that the VI government is in dire strain in the next couple of weeks going forward. And now that the focus now is on Cuba, the VI and this whole diaspora, as far as what it is, the federal government, the decision makers of the federal government, I don't care who sits in Congress, who sits in the government house, I don't care who sits in the Senate. What it's going to be is this thing is changing. It's a living, breathing, it's living and breathing. Every minute something is changing every day. Look now, they banned all these countries with the visas into the United States just yesterday, right? It was a discussion that it may possibly happen. A discussion, the same with Venezuela, and it's happening. It's a breathing document that's moving and changing every day for a reason. And we are part of those documents.
But
And
it is
we're
a problem that our delegate to Congress has not said peep. Nothing.
None of our elected officials can speak on anything affirmative to anything that's taking place. Only one Virgin Islander. Only one person in the Caribbean that lives here and lives in the Virgin Islands, live in the Caribbean. Only one. When I sat with the prime ministers of the OECS countries and I'm educating the best I can, I make sure that when I sit with them, I sit with the Attorney General. I do that for a reason, for legal sufficiency and excuse me, participation. And then they try to make it seem like something else. And today I live to see that they're calling all over trying to get me to come back to the table. It's too late. Give me the bed. Yes, none of our elected officials today can speak to any side of this fraction. That's why you see Congress is saying they didn't know about this. Or someone they have in one of the offices didn't even know what's going to take place next or how it's going to take place. Fortunately, God's been good to the Virgin Islands, and he has placed me in position, even though canes were raised against me, but I was educated by the best. I was able to hold my head high and never hang my head down. So apparently you bring up thing and then when and so forth and what have you. Now the one is here, right? The one is here. What are we going to do about it though? You're going to have those that come and say, I could do better. Yeah? How are they going to do better if they didn't do it better for all the years that they were around doing it? How now better can be done when you've been in it and you couldn't get it done? I could do better. And the better that I'm doing may seem funny, but the investigations as far as where they at, the federal judges that's coming in here, not no local judges sitting on these cases, and attorneys locally that were vetted properly, or the U.S. attorney to team these cases, because we want anybody playing games with the people's lives here. If, for instance, these cases were hung jury or otherwise, or they were acquitted, every hand would have been like this, wipe off. Yeah. So you know what? Leave those people because they were born to live in vomit. Yeah. When I was able to defend the people who were the jury, well, some of the agents were laughing. I was laughing, oh, we did it. They were applauding themselves and whatever have you. And yeah, we got them and what have you. And they said, well, it took X, Y, Z to be done. I said, we might have filed the documents, but it took the jurors. If it wasn't for the jurors, woe be unto man. Right. Let's respect the people here in this territory for who they are and what they're capable of. And that's why I will continue to applaud them, because it's not an easy road to be in, especially when you look at the friends and families. Yeah. And they do know friends and family, popular families and pretty much codified friends that they've had, and make a prudent decision on the facts. The facts. And the facts are, without going into the other side of the nudity, okay, you got a lot of that in that too, that the videos that shows a lot of the other stuff that went on. And the facts are, did they in fact get involved in a conspiracy? Did they in fact knew within the prudency of the office who by the oath of office they took, knew that they were committing a crime? And the answer is yes. But it was a secret, supposed to be a secret. Yeah. And people spoke, the jurors spoke, and the community were vindicated by the community representation as far as the jurors. And I thank them, because it wasn't easy for them in some instances. And they had very good questions to ask and so forth. The jury pool today that is being selected of individual in this territory, our young minds are paying attention, Ms. Mohead. These young men and the black, just intellectually savvy. Yes, very much so. Smart. Yes. But we put them down because they're still in the corner. And not saying that we trying to give them a hand up, We scorn, slight, we shun them, because in those sides that drink caviar and drink champagne and eat caviar, they're up there, they're highfalutin, they smoke a cigar, and the element of the key of this community. I came from a household where I have a household of three, my brother, my mother, and I. And the room where was my stepfather, his name was Frank Miller. The apartment we had, the only room that had a separation was the bathroom. Everything was in one bed, living room, kitchen, all in one. And I would say it was even 15 by 15. And I watched while my mother at night, while she prepared certain things after my stepfather died, and the struggle began as far as her feeding us to make sure we had something, my brother and I, who also expired along with her, but make sure we had something to eat. I stood up one night and watched as my mother was sitting at the table, open, you can't hide. It was just a little thing, a sheet we draw across her to the bed, and she's sitting there crying. And her tears were one that brought me to understanding certain semblance of life. When I approached her, I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she says, I am just proud of you and your brother, but her tears wasn't just in being proud. Her tears was in that sort of the pride that a lot of us have, and the tears of need, but can't get. Right? And while my brother and I ate, and whether we didn't finish bite up on the chicken bone or whatever have you, she made a meal of that in order for her to have substance. And in order for her to have something to drink, a little water with sugar, I could talk it, That's why I could fight for this territory. Because I saw the Willards and the other people who came to the rescue to help. And myself went up and on the place where the shoes I had a big hole on the side and things. We carried shoes to go to school, right? The shirt was torn and so forth, but it was washed. It was mended the best you can. And I held my head up high, even though it was laughed at and so forth. And God has created a guiding light, a beacon in me. This Virgin Island is my home. I intend, because I'm not a person who's being paid by where I'm at. I volunteer my time. And if I walk away, they said, if you want this to go further, you have to be a part of this. And despite me trying to pull myself up, I said, you have to be. For the past several years, I've been at this. And for the past several years, while I'm working with, I'm planning for this territory to get out of this. And getting out of this means that there wouldn't be no sacrifice. The tears dry them because they ain't crying for you when they're stealing from you. They're not crying for you when they're destroying this economy. They're building homes other places, so when they're done, they go some places and live. And we're going to still have to fight to survive in this territory. Much more head. So I know I spoke for a long time. I don't know if...
No. I arranged it so that you have all the time you need, because the people of the Virgin Islands need to hear, need to, sleep on it, think about it, and make sure that whatever they heard, they just let it go.
I said to those... Yes, and I said to those who are running or say they want to run, if any warning you ever take in your life, take heed. Don't run. I'm warning them up front, me hiding. I ain't throwing stone or putting out my hand. I want you to see that I throw the stone at you and it hit you in your head. I want you to see that. Don't run. Because the fact remains of the things that will pursue this community. Just like when I brought up the issue with Epstein as far as what we need to do. Some of these people who walk off the floor in the legislature now talk about running for this office, when they have their family working within the law firms, and then you talk about nepotism and creating bills for the family, for the positions, don't run. When individuals who know better, and they try to hide and been on the island having the cocktails and ceremonial, watching these little children going through what they're going through, don't run. Individual who knew and watched it, and in some instances, they applauded, and instigated, don't run. I wanted them up front. Because the day is going to come that you don't want to debate me. And my debate ain't just a debate just on the floor amongst people. It's a debate that goes someplace else. Don't run. Walk away from this territory. Let our people learn to get out of bondage that you guys have created for us. It's a sad, sad state of affair. And these things that they have done to you and I, it is hard to erase, but it is easy to embrace, because we have a way of fighting for our liberation one way or the other. And we must understand it as a collective body. Adults in this community, big men and women, you know better. But for some reason, when I see and I begin to ask myself, this person was a police, this person is a teacher, this person was a judge. While you know the facts of things, you still run along with it because it's popular. The day of reckoning is on us right now. And nothing that we do locally without certain voices is going to be listened to. And am I patting myself on my back? Yes. You know why, Ms. Mohead? I stood and weathered the storm while the critics and the criticism came in tenfolds. But I was geared and I was well set, well prepared, and well as far as investigation based on where I came from those like Brian and all of those guys who were going to teach me. When it comes to investigation 101, that's me. When it comes to government and governance, that's me. When it comes to bringing money to companies, which I did, and everybody looked at it and tried to create another fraction. Oh, Bento's corrupt because he was the past and he steal money. I steal money from a company where I get paid from, but I steal money for bringing money into the company. Being able to bring investors to a table in a way that nobody else here is able to do. I'm not saying it's a one-man show, but it became that because as a senator, I was more focused on fixing the issues.
Mhm.
Fixing the issue means diversifying the economy. We had a problem with the hospital, I bring people to build a hospital. But a problem with WAPA, I bring a company here that would have been a floating power plant. We would have been paying 10 cents, was 10? 6 cents a kilowatt hour from the ship to
Yeah.
shore, right? Whatever WAPA decided to sell it to the population is different. 6 cents a kilowatt hour. And we said no to that. We said no to the floating hospital, where they were ready to come here, where people were fighting. I was surprised that people were fighting that down as well. You're bringing in a hospital here that just required that the government of the Virgin
Unfortunately,
participate in it.
the
said
people
no.
who are controlled don't want anything that they can't control and get a piece of selfishness.
Mhm. Anything I touch, if I could be working for where I'm working for right now and I'm not being paid, what is it about the character of the person? Ms. Moed, and I would say that on this area, because people say, oh, better, you know, good. He's a liar. When I was speaking about these corruption and things to come, back then, for many, it would seem like I'm lying because nothing was happening. Or he lying about this, or he lying about that. He lying about Epstein, he lying about corruption in the government. 2019 coming forward is a long stretch to now, right?
Mhm.
Of course, we say, oh, I keep saying that, but nothing is ever going to happen. I don't see anybody saying that anymore. Yes, I'm a liar because they said I lied. Oh, don't mind, he's a liar because of this. Ms. Moorhead, and I'm speaking to you as a woman here and to the people of this territory. The only thing they could say about me, and that's the only thing they could say about me, is I'm a person, and I'm going to say it here because they're saying it out there already, that I love women. And if that's an issue, then the issue is theirs, right? But they can't say that I went in a bank and stole. They can't say that I deceived the community and betrayed the trust of the office I held in their favor. As a Democrat, I said, but you're a Democrat, why are you speaking that way?
Mm.
You have to go along to get along. I said, since
Mhm.
when that is like that? Because if that's the case, then I am nobody in many ways. I become a follower when I am a leader. Trained to be one, bred to be one, and I've shown throughout my life in every agency I've been in to lead. But not lead with a stern hand, but lead with diplomacy and understanding, comprehension. And my aim is to enhance the life of the people of this territory. Many would say in many ways that you say that now, what are you going to do later? My exemplary demonstration for the past years of doing what I'm doing, despite the odds, speak clear to the fact. Some sit there while it's going on and have said nothing, lip sealed, lip shut. You got to go along to get along. You can't go against the grain. But that's nonsense. Because not going against what's wrong has created this posture against your own people. I am so proud of our people, how they've steadfast, and most of our seniors, because when I sit and talk with a lot of those who knew the history and knows the history of this place and what they've imparted, those in business and government as well in the past, and things and places they pointed me to during investigations or otherwise, and offices. See, there are people who are out there who've been in offices that our own government ignored, and they have walked with me and said, Benta, if you look this way, look that way. Look this way, look that way. And I listened, and I followed a lot of it. Today, one stone that has not been turned. And this government today with our people, I say to you, there are better days ahead if you do the right thing for the better days. Now, there are detrimental days ahead if you do the wrong thing, because then at that time, I will continue the course that I am on, and the living, breathing testament of lives and the cries that we're hearing today will be worse than it is now. Our seniors today, and I say to them, sometimes a person saying that they love you is a thing that goes in so many ways. How are they demonstrating the love, though? Not just come and say it today. What is the love they've shown you yesterday and the years past? Real love. What is real dedication they've really provided to you to make sure that you can have prolonged life rather than stress and stress you to the grave in some instances, right?
Yeah.
Where is it? When an individual come to a person's funeral who don't know them, and while they're sick in bed but never been to the house or been by the hospital bed, ask the question, when they needed certain things to prolong life, why weren't you there to help the prolonging of their life? You're here to give the farewell of death?
Yeah.
Don't make sense. So I would say more than anything, I am really honored to be here with you this afternoon. There's so much more to come, but I can't get into it because I can also prejudice segments of what's taking place. But do we have a government? We have some people in it that's really thriving to do right. Do we understand the inertia in this as far as how things are moving? I would say no. But can we do better? And I said we can. We are faithful in every way. God is at the helm of everything we know. We say it every single day. And with what we have become or will become, in two different fractions of it, we can become better, we can become worse. And it's for us to decide what side of the aisle we want to be on. Forget about popularity. Look at proven testaments to fact and solutions. And the solutions that are before us right now are ones that none of our elected officials really can speak about. And you're going to hear me say that all over and over because we got to fortify these young men and women. And they're looking, many people are looking at this program this afternoon, Ms. Moorhead, and I don't think you realize how many people are paying attention. I want to thank the members of my team for working so diligently in times of serious consequences, but you may remain steadfast. I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone here as well who weathered the storm based on the negative and continue to be focused on the positive, that we can do better. And in doing better means that we were able to dialogue, exchange information, and work along with what we have to work with, the best in trying to educate our community, despite what has been some things that was said that will never happen and is happening. We are not applauding the actions as they are. We're not patting ourselves on the back and saying, well, we told you so, in a way that becomes a moral destruction. I'm saying that we're saying that we should have never been here in the first place. I'm saying that as adults in this community, not me, but these young men and women are watching us. Ms. Moorhead, how do I describe a young man coming up to you and he says or she says, we watching you. You've been running this place in a wreck for a long time. These are the young people on the street just speaking to you.
Yeah.
And y'all think that we stupid, you know? When a little child coming up and they can tell you candidly that you're fake. When a child could look and say, look at this thing with this government and berate adults. I maintain character. We have a governor of the Virgin Islands, and we're going to address the governor as the governor of the Virgin Islands. We have our delegate to Congress, and we use the fabric is our delegate to Congress, and as well as our senators of the Virgin Islands. And the most that we can ask of them, even though it's short-lived, is that they do what's right. Some will find themselves, that's because, you know, there's in some documents that mention senator who was contacted to be a part of some of the things, but at the same time, even though things may happen to you, you could still do what's right. And doing what's right means standing above all. Yes, you may be arrested, things may happen, however, you can still do what's right. Become a representative, right? Let the people realize I do make mistakes because nobody's perfect, because I am not, right? But at the same time, it brings you to a semblance of reculminating or rekindling the position of the people of the territory with you, so they will know that, in fact, you made a mistake and you're rectifying it the best you can. Things will happen, but we are here. And the first and foremost, now that it's uncovered, that you also know that your hand is in some of this, just do what's right, because you have the rest of the year to do what's right on behalf of the people. I am asking for the Board of Election, to the Election Assistance Commission, to the Inspector General's Office of the United States, and all of the other side of it, to the senators as well, that sits in the position that knows better, and knows that the individuals who have done what they've done, all of you know. It's so sad. Some of them, the senators I know, you know, and it's just so appalling for me to see what I'm seeing, that I'm saying do the right thing. Because tomorrow is not promised to me or anyone as far as life, but I can assure you it's promised that Mother Justice will prevail and take her rightful position when it comes to this. Outside of all those who our executive branch is pretty much gearing up and judging up the system, so judges putting judges in position that they think of black things. That's not the way it's going to go, right? The way it's going to go in a way where the federal government will do what it has to do. The people of the territory will adjudicate like they should do, and justice will, in fact, be the end and the justification for people to feel better and feel like a Virgin Islander. I had to come to my away from everything to my room because I'm presently in an area managed by the federal government right now, and with that, I have several of my colleagues who are here, and I have to be very careful of some of the things that I say. So, Ms. Mohed, I don't know if you have any questions of me, but I'm here, my dear, and I thank you for your guiding light as well, and beacon to me as well.
No, I don't have any questions. I just want again to say thank you so much to you and your team for the work that you're doing. I'm going to make sure that from now going forward, I'm going to encourage everyone to make sure and look at this recording and get the information, look at it over and over, even to make someone digest everything and let them to understand, especially the young people, that they can help and participate and do their share by now registering to vote. And that is why I'm fighting for the paper ballot with the votes to be counted manually and to under total transparency, because I've heard them out there when I was out there with the apportionment initiative talking that as far as they're concerned, everything is always the same every election. And so that's why I'm fighting for this choice, and you know, hoping that for them to understand to take a stand, because this election is critical.
Yes, it is, and I think to you too. It's not an easy road to walk, really, and being in the opposite, because the thing that we call it individual that's just creating a storm, really. But looking at the solution, did we get to move forward really, or we went backwards from where we came from, and how we have to change that trajectory? And I said to everybody in the territory, really, a lot of hands are on us as far as to work with us, ready to do what's right with us, and make sure that we get the best. But they're not going to work with the other side of this aisle on the no recourse, because what's documented and seen can be pushed aside and figure it's okay just to let it run any further. So, Ms. Mohed, I'm going to say thank you so much. I know you got to do your closings, but to the people of the Virgin Islands, say remain steadfast and respectful. Remember, these are our families and these are people that we are around. And I have to say this way, we don't want to invoke other than justice the right way, because it can take people to another level as we begin to go down this path with the big, beautiful bill now that has been enacted. And ask for the Department of Human Services and other agencies to step up as fast as you can to bridge some of this. You're not going to be able to stop everything, but you can bridge some things, please, because these are our people, these are our citizens, and these are our families and kins. So I bid you good afternoon, Miss Moorhead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, folks, that was our, good afternoon and okay, somebody have. But at any rate, folks, as I said, that is going to be on the WSCX Facebook page. I'm going to make sure to refer to it as often as I can. And I'm going to ask those of you who have the privilege of hearing the program today to please encourage others to make sure and bring it up. And you know me and technology are not necessarily that friend, but you should be able to explain to them how to go and bring it up and be able to see it. I'll make sure to even ask just to explain to me, because that's one thing with me, common sense. I could understand anything as to how to explain when I'm referencing it on the program to be able to get to it. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mary Peggy Moorhead.
Good afternoon, Mr. News. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. And good afternoon to Brother Spencer. He has
Oh, no, he signed off. He signed off, yes.
Yeah, okay, very well. And I'm sure you'll be listening. Peggy, I listened intently from the first word that was spoken this afternoon.
Good.
And if there is a state of the territory address, it was that was just given.
Well, okay. You know that yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but you're making a point. Yes, go ahead.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And we know what the governor is coming with within it is a week or so. By law that he's supposed to give a state of the territory address, which would be his last. I don't say state of the territory because that's how I speak. Some people will call us syllables. State of the territory address. Whichever which way. I had a sneak peek of it. Yes. Yo soy diablo. I am the devil, but the devil got a friend. So I got people who show me things. I had a sneak peek of it, and it's nothing but twaddle, poppycock, and feel good. Okay? To make people feel good. This is his last hurrah. And the thing is this, it's far from the truth. For one simple reason. What is he going to say he did for 8 years? Build housing? No. Build schools and hospitals? No. Build roads? No. Pitching bitumen of black or tar on a road is not building a road. Roads have to be properly engineered and designed. I mean, you know, for them and those who I suspect need to be on his gravy train, I am not sorry for them because if I have anything to do with it, they are going to scatter the tail and go with he. Wherever you're going, St. Vincent, Africa, wherever you're going. But the thing is this, we have to first come to realize and understand who is doing the best for us and who's looking out for us. We didn't have it in 8 years. So them and those who were there with him ain't going to give it to us either. They were already indoctrinated in how not to do for the people, but to do for themselves. And I'll close by saying that the blankets of the world and the rest of the dominant Democrats who decided to run. And they are good Democrats. You know, I am a very fair person. I've always said it. But there are some bad ones, dominant. And they continue to whoop in the people's face, wipe their feet on them, and now coming, oh, how they love you. You see, but we must not forget, people, our memories are too short. Don't ask them, what have you done for me lately? Ask them, what have you done for us in 60 years? Nothing. There you go.
Hold on a minute, let me ask you something, if you don't mind. You got the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My thing, as I pointed out, but I didn't want to get him off what he was sharing, is that the delegate to Congress, our delegate to Congress, Stacey Plaskett, and I've been racking my brain trying to remember the committee that she's on, because I'm thinking that there's some committee.
Where's that mean?
Okay. Because I'm thinking that there is her being close to one of these should give her some kind of information on some of the things having to do with Greenland and Venezuela. So why is it that she has not made not one single comment concerning this situation? I mean, if even to just give information or to say, well, keep an eye out for this, or I mean, even if it's not that substantive, to say something. And the reason I'm asking you is because am I wrong to think that there's something she should be saying?
Of course, you should be saying that and more.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering if I, thinking wrong and she's not in that realm or whatever. But I'm just thinking that because I remember there have been in the past times when I've addressed about something, she always remind me, I don't deal with local stuff, but this definitely is not on a local level.
Wait a minute, Peggy. She have said that she don't deal with local stuff. Well, who does elect her?
Well,
Well, my Christ. She don't deal with local stuff.
I remember, and I remember the subject matter to tell you about it now. It was about bringing certain types of animals and things into the territory. And her thing was that was a local issue.
Oh, nonsense. And Benta said it correctly. Look how many, what they call them, I don't want to call the wrong word, you will help me with it.
What's that?
People that support lobbyists. Let me just use the word lobbyists.
Yeah.
That the Virgin Islands have Winston and Strom. If they haven't made billions, they haven't made 5 cents.
Because they've been there for about 20 years.
Oh, God, more than that.
Okay, well, I know at least 20. I know they've been there the longest.
Well, I know them because I have worked in the House of Representatives. I know them well.
Okay.
And I never see them come there on behalf of the Virgin Islands talking for anything.
But what I don't understand is why is it if we think a new one, man, I forget the name of the company Benta mentioned, that there's a new one that is supposedly Republican friendly, then we just end the contract with Winston and Strom, because we're going to have a Republican for the next 3 years. So why continue paying Winston and Strom who can't do anything?
Well, you see, a company lobbyist, a big conglomerate like Winston and Strom has strength as well, because they too, even though they may be working in democratic administrations or foreign democratic administration themselves are Democrats, they're also working across the aisle also, so that they don't get their pockets full, however they cookie crumble. So they're straddling the fence, you see.
Yeah.
But this is it. And meantime, who getting crushed is the little people, and we be crushed with help by Stacey Plaskett and Albert Bryant. I said it. And before I go, let me mention, Benta alluded to it. People from the PPI, because of the Nitz family being a big name in the PPI, are calling me and asking me what it is our governor of the Virgin Islands writing to Trump to sort of rein in at the solar government. I mean, I told Albert already. I said, listen, your grandmother was from King Garden, I think she is, but you acting like you don't have any, your background is not Totola. Many people, when they ask me where I'm from, I normally say, Totola, PBI, or Cuba. That's where I'm from. I said, no, I'm not from America. I am in America. But my heritage goes back to the PPI, Santo Domingo. It goes all the way to Australia. There's a Nitz family in Australia, even though they are white, they are Nitz. But I choose it to Tola because of the proximity. And I remember clearly, and I'm going up to this. When I was a boy, my mom, who was from Totola, father from Totola, they would know when one of the sloops is coming down, and they know it's going to have a box of something on it from our grandmother. So therefore, they send me to wait on the boat by the waterfront to also give them a box of stuff to take back up. That's why we bartered. And now as was praying out the God of all trust and us, my God, I don't know. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen because he's our, and again, to say as Judah said, the people are the ones to be blamed because they were warned and warned and warned, and they keep putting the same people back and back and back. Thank you, God.
Okay, take care.
Right.
Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome, you're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Peggy. I personally have to verify that I have heard Stacey Plaskett say that she don't deal with local issues.
Okay.
She told me that.
All right. I don't lie on people, especially not on the air. I know she told me, yeah. So that's why I asked. I put my concern in a question because I don't know if the issue could be considered local or federal from her standpoint, because I'm not that up to date on what the delegate to Congress is to consider to be their duty or not.
Well, my thing is, you as a delegate to Congress, you're here to defend the Virgin Islands, whether local or federal. And as you know, there's a travesty happening here. Totally legal rum distillery operating out there on Prosperity Farm, about the farmer plantation nightclub. And nobody, not one senator, not the governor. Of course, he been there smoking cigar. And sorry, governor, I hope you don't have to gut me like a fish because I'm going to trample on your legacy. So I'm saying that this is such a crucial election, people. And you all need to watch what bill get passed between now and November and vote accordingly. If we're going to allow these senators to pass your bill that you're supporting, Peggy, and also this distillery and agricultural land and residential land, let that be the determining factor how you vote. You understand, people? Let that be your ammunition against these people that claiming they're coming to be our senators. You understand? We have VLA supporting it. Who else? I'm not sure. But watch how they vote. The voting coming up February, mid-February. We're going to give an exact date when I get that. So take this as ammunition and I support your bill that you're supporting, Peggy, and watch how these people vote. And that is how we should determine who we're going to vote for come November. So your senators, I need to be on your P's and Q's. I know that I can't keep supporting the rich people who benefiting and the few who voting in the ain't getting nothing that we ask for.
Well, I am hoping, allow hope that because as I keep touching it, that bill 360187 is a matter of giving people choice for voting, and a choice that is complete, because there are people out there, well, a particular talk show host who's insisting that we vote on paper already. Yeah, but the whole thing is that paper is not supposed to then end up in a machine just the same. The point is that paper must stay complete the process free of a machine. And that is what I realized after getting handcuffed last election that was missing, which is what this bill now makes sure to put in place. And I have dealt, when I did that initiative for reapportionment, I ran into a lot of people of all ages that kept insisting to me that they just are not about voting because they, as far as they see it, regardless of how you vote, the result is the same. And this is why I think the option would, if anything, make a difference with people like that. And that's, I'm going to go in the next Friday and fight and argue as hard as I can to convince at least a majority of the members sitting on that committee to vote in the affirmative. And all I doing is asking people to show up and sit down in the legislative hall in the two district in St. Thomas and in St. Croix, because I know from experience when senators see a lot of people in the hall, it'll sway them.
That's right,
Yeah.
and I agree with you, Bill, 100%. And you got me going to advocate for you now when I advocating for 02111 to stop these distilleries and the land. And right, if you can't have a separate sheet to count and we count the absence of a machine, it's still fraud. And if these senators is not for it, that means they're a fraud. Again, if you're not for this bill for Peggy people, watch your senators, see if they're going to vote. And if they vote against it, then you're voting against the Fortune Islands, you're voting against transparency.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
understand your bill now, Peggy, and I'm in support of it. And I beg the people to go ahead and call your senators, tell them your position, let them know.
Well,
Depending on how you vote for these bills, it's going to be how we going to vote at the
thank you much.
poll.
And if you didn't hear the vote program today, or even if you did, please, when you have time, also encourage people to go and bring it up, however it is, you always bring it up on Facebook page or whatever, and listen to that entire presentation by Oakland Benta, because that is information that people need to know.
And I will do that. I kind of illiterate myself when it comes to Facebook,
No.
but I going to search and try to listen.
Well, all I know, and I'm going to ask Josh when he comes back to explain it, because all I know is that it's something you got go on to the WSTX Facebook page, and that's usually where all the different shows are listed, and you just by the
Okay.
date or whatever, bring it up, But I will make sure to get a full explanation so I could explain it properly as soon as Josh come back and do next show. But it's definitely, I always said for years, I've always been saying that the one thing I see that is developing in the VI territory is corruption. Well, after listening to Benta today, I definitely know I talking truth.
Developing. This been the norm. This been the norm. With against the governor, even worse. Yeah. So thank you for the time.
No problem there. Thank you for the call.
Right.
Yes, folks, we're coming now. If you got anything you want to pitch in, make sure 7730390 or 7730490. And as I said, I will try to make sure that I find out so that I can on Wednesday, when I come back next week, make sure to let you know, how to, or even I will ask Josh to let all the other talk show hosts be able to explain to the listeners how, when they don't aren't able to listen to a talk show that is presented here on WSTX, how they can access this, because I know it is recorded and there is a way to access it. And as I said, it is important. That was a lot of information that was presented this afternoon by Benta, and I think that people really need, even if you heard it already, because that's why I want to know how to access it too, because I definitely want to sit down and listen to it again, because we need to realize what is going on around our territory. And folks, whether you realize it or not, please make sure that if you have a high school child in the household, make sure that they're around, because why you think these children are not adept or not, or in order to know what's going on, they know. They understand quite. Some of them don't understand better than the older people. So make sure when you're playing, bring it up. And matter of fact, they probably could tell you how to bring it up better than you know. But make sure that you encourage them to listen to the presentation, because the future is theirs. Okay, we are those of us along, because along with Benta, who are fighting the fight now. We're fighting for them. okay, for them to have a better life, a better VI than we have. We are fighting to correct the wrongs that exist now so that they don't have to deal with that. And they need to know what has happened because, like we always say, you have to know your history in order to understand your present and in order to plan for your future. So that is very important. And please make sure that we do accordingly. Okay. Now, make sure people, let me let you know one more time. And I'm talking about things that are happening. Okay. Tomorrow is the meeting of the election board, 1 p.m. Okay, the election board, and that is in the um, PSC conference room. Okay, Public Service Commission. That is in St. Croix and Carlton. In St. Thomas is over there, where they said by Barbell Plaza. So that's 1 o'clock tomorrow. If you can't make it, you contact the office and they'll give you a link. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, Peggy, if you have somebody else on the other line.
No, nobody else. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. You know, I don't know why some of us are so biased. When I say that, what I mean is this. Long before Benta even formally announced, and I don't believe he formally announced.
No, he didn't. He has not. No, he has not.
No, not formally, right. And you know what people would come to me with? First and have it, where he bad? And I said, you tell me where he bad. I don't know where he bad. You tell me where he bad. Are you telling me he's not saying the right things, or you only concerned on where he was born? Then I would counter them with this. Where was Lord Brian born? We offer you the best. We had it. Lord Brian, you turn him down. What it is our people, what we want? White man to come back to run us? I mean, what do we want? You can't have it both ways. You're going to try to trip me up now by asking me what Benta born. When I ask you what Brian born, you will find all kind of reason why. Let me tell you something. You talk about biasness, Peggy. Yesterday, I heard the advocate for digital situations talking about she wants to do for the DS200 in honor of Bob Brian. Is that the same Bob Brian that she told me about, that he should have been this and that because he took people as a police, he kicked them up, he do it.
That is just a strategy to mislead the people. Okay,
well, this is what
that
I'm
is
saying.
and to get more opposition against the choice for paper ballot. That is nonsense.
Exactly.
That's bull crap.
You coming with that now and think we just show ready.
You has never been a supporter of Delbert Brian.
I know that. Oh my God, I don't know. How did we come to this? Well, you know, in the biblical thing, what it used to say, give us what it was. I'm trying to remember it, but
I can't help you when you're talking biblical. I can't help you.
Yeah, no, but what they say, give us. I'm thinking two things. Give us Caesar or give us this. But that's with literature.
Yeah.
But in the biblical part of it, when Jesus, who was sent by his Father, the Creator, to save us from sin, did not crucify him. They crucified him, and he hung on a cross just like him. And even them, them the people that like, you all don't know what it is all you want. Here's the man that came to save us. Becky, I just, we
Well,
gonna see what will happen.
Yeah, well, you know what does actually just sort of piss me off when I do happen to hear the misleadership is the statement that those of us who want paper ballot is because we have a fear of technology. Okay, and I
Yes,
want to make
yes,
but I want the person to understand that the generation she's referencing about a fear of technology are the ones who have been the most courageous, and because we were the last generation to take a stand against government in job actions and whatnot.
oh,
Okay?
oh, but
We were the last. Since our time, there have not been a movement out there with any government employees to stand up for anything.
well, you know,
So
I'm
we
glad
don't
you said
fear anything. We definitely don't fear technology. We're hesitant
Thank you.
because we don't all them not all of us understand it, but we don't fear it, and we still are using it.
Thank you for saying that, because when she made that statement yesterday, I had to let her know that I know a lot of technology. I don't get myself too involved in it, particularly this AI foolishness. But all my children are well educated and they know it. So what I don't know, they just guide me to include my 9-year-old grandson, because they know the technology. But people like them and those who supposed to be certified science teachers, as she said, and that this is why Carl Knight is in the right job as executive director or CEO of WAPA, making $500,000 because she taught him nonsense. Taught him what?
That's what she said to Pakana. What is this?
Yeah, she said that. She told me that more than once.
What is this? So,
One time she
Carl
had
Knight,
him and
so did she tell Carl Knight that he owes a success to her?
well, let me tell you, one time he was on our show, and she did all she cannot do take my call, and I know she know my number, so she wasn't taking. But she was forced to take it because I complained to management. She didn't take it for call. And when I started with Knight, and Knight maybe at that point realized me ain't no Johnny come lately, because his degree in engineering is in civil, building bridges and roads. I don't have one, but I got 50 years of experience in electrical engineering. So he wasn't that guy, idiot. So I could have only finished with her that day and that show by telling her, I'm glad she did not teach I and I. Peggy, I got.
Okay, take care. Folks, we're down to about the last 5-6 minutes or so. Again, let me make sure to tell the parents out there, please remember what I'm saying. You have a child in the public school system, please, please, please make it your business to attend the parent meetings so that you will be demonstrating to your child that their education is important. So you will take a time out once a month to go to the meetings and at least keep up with what is happening in the school. And do remember that I know that if you have any question at all, any question whatsoever about the academics of your child's school, about the facility of your child's school, that's where you ask address the concern, because that is what the organization is all about. If there's no one there at the time with the result, the answer, the remedy, that it is their business to address it in doing research or whatever, to make sure that the following month, or if not before, that they have an answer for you. But that is where uh, we make sure, and let me put it this way, and this is my opinion, okay? If we could get at least 10%, okay, 10% of the enrollment of every public school that is in this territory to be a consistent, okay, attendees at parent meetings, do you know that you would be able to do so much more insofar as the resources and the condition of these children's school? Yeah, because as I said, the number uh, pretty much of the enrollment in St. Croix district is around, average 300, 300 and change, so going up. So if we had 30 people who went every month to meetings and had discussions and addressed concerns and whatnot, and advocated and lobbied for whatever is necessary, it would be a whole different situation with our public school facilities and our public education system. Okay. Now, folks, let's make sure that before I close off, I want to make sure to point out to you again, okay, that this election is a very important one, okay? Uh, and I think you will have to agree with me after listening to Benter's presentation today. And all I am saying to you is that when there's time for election, first of all, make sure, please, that you register. And after you register, then you don't just take that ID and just use it for just that. No, go on election day and do your voting and vote the entire ballot. By that I mean you're going to vote for make a choice for delegate to Congress. You're going to make a choice for governor and lieutenant governor. You're going to make a choice for senators, and make sure, I say this every time, it's going to be a choice of 7 that you have to select for the District of St. Croix, and then you'll have the one at large. But make sure, as I said, if you don't have strong confidence in 7 people, a choice of 7 on that ballot, just choose the number of candidates that you have a strong commitment and belief in, whether it be 1, 2, 3, whatever the number. But don't force to mark 7 if you know you can't defend or take a position to defend the 7 choices. Choose the ones that you can stand up and defend. And then don't stop with the senators. Please continue to the 2 boards of election and board of education. So this election year, people, please vote the entire ballot. And I'm saying that because every election year, you have a number of anywhere close to 10,000 people voting for the section of senators and governors, 10,000 and more. And when you get to the board of election and board of education, all you're seeing is maybe 3,000 and more. Stop that. Those 2 boards are very, very important and very powerful. So make sure that you make a change in the selection with the Board of Election and the Board of Education. Choose somebody different. Try a thing. So many of you go to the casino and gamble with your money. Eh? You gamble with your money that you need to pay your bills. Well, hello. Gamble with the Board of Education and the Board of Election. And I say gamble because the point is the majority of you don't have not been touching it at all. So I'm saying touch it, take a chance, make a selection. Board of Education, Board of Election. And folks, we're coming down. I really do appreciate, and I want to say, if you've never heard me say it before, I make sure I'm going to say it today. I thank you much for being out there listening. I know quite a few of you tell me you listen, you don't call, you never call, but you're there listening. And I appreciate that because I appreciate the fact that you get taking the information. Okay. And I know once somebody has information, it is guaranteed that it's going to move. Somebody else will get the same information because regardless of what, there is a sharing that goes on uh, somehow or the other. I'm just making sure, folks, it is 4:30. I'm not seeing um, the management. I'm sure he'll probably be running in here soon, but I do want to say thank you again for listening to WSTX 970 AM for another Wednesday afternoon. I will be on next Wednesday, okay? And I do hope